based on the games that I've played against him, I think I'm a stronger top laner than he is. During Worlds, I was like, I don't think I can work with Inspired again. I don't think I have it in me. That's it for me. Like, I don't think I can play with this guy again, because the reality of the matter is that our culture, our way we perceive the game, and the way we perceive culture in a team are oil and water. I would consider myself to be the strongest individual player in the Western Hemisphere, yes. One thing I'll say is this: I firmly believe that in life, bad has to exist.
How comfortable did you become in LA by the end? Obviously, I know it was a difficult place for you to be at times, but like, what kind of comforts did you find in LA after being there for a few years?
I mean, let me think. I sit inside and play video games, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I think for me, what comfort is having an average of 3 to 5 places I can order from at any given time. And then being able to find a suitable work routine, you know what I mean? Because I think that's something that's a discipline I've struggled with my whole life, which is like, started with me going to school. Like, I was just the guy that would just show up at school with like 4 hours of sleep because I decided to play RuneScape all night, or decided to play World of Warcraft all night, and then I'd perform obviously quite poorly, even though I'd say that I'm generally not a stupid person. So I'd punch below my weight academically. I think that's a good way to put it. And that's always been an issue in my life, basically, that I just haven't, like, if I don't have a good schedule that works for me, and I'm like happy to maintain, I struggle with performance. And I think that when I was in LA, I definitely was able to get some of the healthiest work schedules that I've ever had, basically.
And when you talk about
So
like, because I think for some people, like, it's just think, so for example, I'm having like real problems with my sleep at the moment, and I think a lot of that comes from like a lack of innate, I wouldn't say work ethic, but it's like, you have like innate discipline that's like kind of tied to
yeah.
stuff that you developed. Would you say you're someone that has innate discipline, or are you trying to? Anthony Bourdain once described as the reason he didn't smoke weed was because he would have to like shoot the lazy version of himself every day. Like, he'd have to like shoot him in the head. Do you struggle with like a lazy version of yourself, or like, do you have innate discipline?
Oh, I definitely have. I'm lazy as fuck, bro. I'm like one of the laziest people I know in my life. I struggle with it every day. To be honest with you, I probably could have started streaming like 3 weeks ago if I wasn't as lazy as I am. But I'm just, I don't know. I don't put a priority on certain things in life. Like, for me, being like efficient with my time isn't a priority, and I think that that's ultimately why I'm a less disciplined person. Because I think that a disciplined person wants to make use out of a dedicated amount of time per day to a
Hmm.
goal they've set. I think discipline is the act of maintaining that goal and maintaining that effort every single day, regardless of circumstances. But the thing is before you can exercise discipline, you need to have a goal that you're actively guiding that time towards. I'd
So,
say that's how I perceive it.
so you sort of like I mean, the famous adage is work smart, not hard, right? Or would you
I mean,
would it be unfair to say that you're not working hard?
I'd say I'm working hard. I'm not working smart.
Oh, okay, interesting. So it's just either.
Yeah, no. I mean, the thing is like I said, like, smart would be, stream a little every single day. Like, do 3 hours of a stream and then turn it off, and that way, I have a consistent thing going, whatever. I do the opposite, which is I take the hard way, which is when I stream, the maximum amount of hours in a day I can. So if that's after practice, I do 6, 7 hours, and if that's during an off day, or like, like whatever, boot camp, whatever, I do 13 hours straight.
Have you always existed in such extremes? Because I can relate to that quite heavily. It's very much all or nothing for me. Like, for example, in the last month when I was doing off-season interviews, I did 18
Mhm.
3-hour ones
Yeah.
in a row, and now it's like I can barely do one every couple. Like, I burnt out a little bit, right? Like, you're my first one in a few days, so it's like I very much exist in extremes because I believe that I can handle the extremes, and then the extremes come to bite me in the ass. Is that the case for you?
Well, absolutely, yeah. I can completely relate. Like I said, my work schedule is the exact same. Like, for example, um, a lot of teams they're like, "Have you been playing solo queue in the off season?" It's like, "Mate, I don't touch solo queue till January." It's like, "Oh, but it's 2 weeks till the thingy." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'll play 14 hours a day, and there you go. I'll be ready." I'm very much full extreme as well when it comes to that. Not gonna deny it, and I quite like it that way, to be honest with you, because um, well, for the off season thing, I think it's just smart because I think that the reason I haven't burned out of the game and I still love the game is because of that simple reason: is that I just genuinely don't touch the game, unless it's for a reason that I really want to. So if there's like a new champion that I'm like itching to play and I really want to play it, I'll play it, have my fun, and then that's it. I'm playing for specifically because I enjoy it. But the pro players that go out of their way to grind in the off season throughout the year to like maintain their level or whatever, I don't believe in that whatsoever. Nah, I'm good.
You're someone that extols quite a lot of virtues in regards to, for example, a little anecdote. You once gave a kind of a presentation to a few of my players over at Ruddy on how to be a pro player. Like you're someone that I think has tenets and principles in regards to kind of extolling these virtues of work and pro player.
Mhm.
Does this not run kind of at odds with the lazy sense of self in some ways? Because you have this innate sense of belief of being the best, but it must be at odds at some capacity with your laziness.
I'll do as I say, not as I do is the first thing I'll say to that. And the second thing I'll
Sure.
say to that is, um, oh, results are what matter at the end of the day when it comes to that, right? So if my results are better than everyone else, then my methods are somewhere, some way, quite effective,
Is that
right?
not results-based analysis?
Yeah, what's wrong with that? I think there's a time and place for results-based analysis.
There is time and place for results-based analysis, but perhaps some may argue that your use of it here is to the ends justify the means, perhaps. And then the argument could be if you were to reverse engineer the logic, if you had worked harder, perhaps in some places, the results would even be more indicative, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's the part of being human. I think there's a part
That's fair. That's
there
good.
is
That's a good
there is
response.
genuinely a point of no return where it's just like you give up on everything else and you're just a genuine fiend for success to the point where nothing else in your life matters, and then you are at the peak of your performance, perhaps. But I think that's the beauty of the human being, really, is that that's just usually not true. You get more hindered by the things you don't have when you sacrifice everything for a singular goal. It appears. Again,
Interesting.
this is mostly anecdotally, but also from stories of people. You know what I mean? Like this is a very common thing that people talk about. Is like it's burnout, right? That's what it is. It's burnout. You may peak for a short period of time, but you will never maintain those highs if you sacrifice everything else in your life for said peak.
In terms of this burnout, for you, I want to give you two analogies about what burnout is to some people, and I wanted you to describe what it feels like most to you, because you're someone that obviously has experienced burnout. People talk about burnout being as in like you burn brightly, like this kind of burning star that is burning brightly, kind of like an
Mhm.
Icarus type of vibe, flowing too close to the sun, and then at
Yeah, makes
least
sense.
and at least in some ways maybe Icarus laughed because he at least he was able to fly. Or does it more so feel as if kind of this kind of I don't know, almost a dissipating hunk of steaming rock that's just kind of not able to yeah, just like is it steam? Is it flight or is it steam burnout more so for you? Are you able to in that moment kind of feel as if you've soared but you are burning, or is it more just there is an intense sense of steam coming off of you and just no real feeling and reflection?
I mean, just depends on the results, doesn't it? I'd say you're soaring if you're winning, and if you're losing, then you are in
Absolutely.
fact burning those fossil fuels.
I guess innate to that question for me is which is the interesting part is when you're experiencing this burnout, is there any actual like virtue and celebration? Like, are you able to like kind of romanticize it in that moment? Because I think people romanticize burnout a lot, but when you're experiencing it, I don't know, it's difficult, right? Because I think for us as people, when we talk about these extremes that we exist in ourselves, I know when I talk about that, I'm romanticizing it, unfortunately, as a downside. And I feel like it might be the same for you. I feel like you might romanticize some of these more extreme natures of yourself. So I wonder, in the pursuit of burnout and things like this, do you romanticize it or not?
Well, you romanticize the moments that you shared with your team because of the efforts you put in, right? Like, what I'm trying to say is like you need to separate what burnout. Like you need to separate. Like I said, like fossil fuels, basically like juice that you're not getting back, right? This is you're burning into something that you is not tangible. Like passion is not something that's tangible in the current day and age, I'd say.
Mm.
Can we agree on that or not?
I would say it's not directly tangible, yeah. It's more, yeah. Sure.
With that in mind,
Yeah.
when you dig into the resource that is your passion, because you're doing something that you just so desperately want to get done, you want to achieve it so badly that you are pushing yourself to a point where I'm doing this not because I love it, but because I feel like I have to,
Yeah.
right? That's when you're burning fossil fuels. I think you're Icarus flying too close to the sun when you're winning and you're celebrating with your team and you're just out of juice as a human. Like your body physically stops being able to handle the schedule you set for yourself. I remember in 2020 when I played Worlds in China, my schedule was uh, I would sleep around 4:35 a.m. and I would wake up at 11:56. Now, why is 11:56 the hour I picked? Because it took me 3 minutes to shower and it took me 1 minute to get down to the practice room. I was able to maintain that for the entire event up until the end, right? When quarters rolled around, like I did not have that schedule anymore. It was impossible for me. I could not handle it.
During
But it didn't dig into my passion. It was just simply my body just couldn't keep up anymore. Like this
sure.
was 3 straight weeks of this practice schedule, and you need to understand that every waking moment I had that I pressed the play button on my client and I queued up.
Sure.
It's also why I was rank 5
On the
on
Chinese
the ladder.
server.
Yes,
When you're talking about burnout, what goes first, the mind or the body?
I think that depends on the person.
For you.
For me, what goes first? Definitely the body.
Okay.
Like I said, when I push myself to a point where I can burn out, it is because I'm setting like a really rigid practice schedule. I think personally, I am someone that like really responds well to a very rigid practice schedule with many hours in it because I think that my biggest strength as a player is cerebral. You know, like I think I'm a pretty smart player, all things considered, and I think that the biggest issue I suffer from as a professional player is when I have to weigh other elements into the game from outside sources, it clouds my judgment and I let personal feelings kind of overtake me. And I think that's a really big reason why I consistently make stupid decisions in high pressure situations that I normally don't. Because in low pressure situations, I just don't get sentimental.
That's interesting. To kind of draw from a previous interview I did, Inspired during my interview with him talked about how he felt a big disconnect with you and how he was evaluating some of these latter stage games in that you felt an intense pressure in the game to do something. Whereas he was like, well, I don't know why Bwipo felt like that. I felt like we were really in control and we were going to win. And it was like you were making like plays that existed outside of like the. You basically were making plays indicative of someone that felt like they needed to make something happen in the game, otherwise they were going to lose. Why did you feel that disconnect? Because I think it ties into what you're talking about there in regards to low pressure versus high pressure and how that affects you in terms of how you respond.
Hmm.
So,
Well,
yeah,
it's really simple. It's not about me. I know I'm in a good spot. I know good things are happening, but when my team struggles and I can't find ways to celebrate victories with them by basically what I'm trying to say is like whenever I force things, it's usually because I'm trying to hold someone's hand and like connect with them as a human being, like with my teammates. Like for me, a really large part about success as a team is having the confidence that everyone knows that they can play their game and do their thing. You know what I mean? Expressing yourself through the game of League of Legends is something I've done for my whole life. Like this is how I escaped every single struggle I'd ever had in my young adult life. Right? Play League of Legends. And the way I found the most joy in doing that was expressing myself through the character I picked, the style I played, the build I used. That's what I did. Now, I think League's a fantastic game because there's like 50 different characters that I fell in love with and wanted to play and wanted to express myself as, and et cetera, right?
sure. But to go
What I'm
back,
trying to say is, so
yeah,
what I'm trying to say is the reason why this matters to me is because when there's a high pressure situation and there's a lot of things going wrong in practice, that is where I draw my strength from. And when I'm in a high pressure situation with my teammates, I want them to be able to express themselves as players, because I believe that you need to be in a very healthy headspace in order to make it far in a world championship run. And I think that looking at games.
just to stop you,
Go ahead.
because what it sounds like you're saying is that you're let me attach the most Reddit facetious interpretation of what you're saying, and you can work your way out of it. It sounds like you're saying that you int your teammates to develop character building, which I don't think is what you're saying. But you're talking about feeling pressure and acting in the game is a way of inducing connection, but more so
No. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
Okay, sure.
I'm saying that
because I think maybe it was unclear.
what I'm saying is from my perspective, a struggling team is a team that struggles because players do not see opportunities they're supposed to be taking.
Okay.
A struggling team is a team that struggles because they're trying too hard to take opportunities that are not theirs to take.
But do you not think
These are the two main issues. These are the two main issues.
Do you not think that could be a potential criticism of you, that you're taking opportunities
Oh, absolutely.
that aren't there to be taken? Okay.
Oh, absolutely. But that's to focus on only that and neglect the fact that there are many opportunities that are not being taken, and I think that not taking an opportunity is an equally grand mistake as missing. Like, missing an opportunity is the same as taking one that isn't yours. That's my opinion.
Okay.
That's always been my philosophy. And what I'm trying to say is, I reach a point where under stress, when I feel like my teammates just don't take any opportunities, they don't take any risk, I don't know if we're going to win that game. I really struggle with that. I really do. It's my biggest weakness. I 100% agree with you that this is a large weakness, and this is my biggest problem over the course of my entire career. Is if I feel like I'm playing on a team with players that are just simply going to sit there, farm and scale, and wait for someone to make a mistake or something good to blow their way, I don't have the confidence that I'm going to make it to the place I want to make it. And once I lose that confidence of like, I'm going to the world championship to make it to quarters, to make it to semis, to play in the fight. Like, I'm here to win, basically, right? I'm not here to perform. I'm here to win. That's always been my mindset whenever I go into any event, any tournament, anything. I don't show up because I want to play. Well, I show up because I want to play, but I'm there to win. You know what I mean? I love playing. I adore playing. It's for me myself. I adore playing. It's my passion in life. It's what I love more than anything. What I came to realize is I win because that's what people celebrate, and I like having something to celebrate with people. You know, that's really that's what makes me want to keep doing it. It's the fans, it's the people that are at home watching, and they're like, "Fuck, that was awesome!" Like, my fondest memories of my career are people telling me, "I watched you play Volibear in 2020, and to this day I still play Volibear, and I love that, man. I watched you play this character, and to this day I play this character because of you." And that's what I adore. That's my goal.
When you experienced that for the first time, was that tied to something that you've? Because I'd be interested in unpacking that feeling and where that comes from. Is that something new that you discovered that you enjoyed when you heard that for the first time, or does it tie to something that's a bit more central to you as a person?
It definitely came before that. I used to make guides, so what I did is I made guides. Hold on one second. Let me communicate that I'm doing an interview real quick.
Nice.
All right, there we go. I used to make guides, so they were very small guides, but this was like season 6. I was like a grandmaster tier player. Wasn't all that high on the ladder or anything, but I used to make guides because I just wanted people to be able to, play the characters they wanted to play the way I played them and have success with them, because I figured, if I love these characters, then other people will love these characters too. So it's always been something I like to celebrate about League of Legends. It's something that I've always enjoyed. Yeah, so it's definitely not something new.
That's good. I like that.
But
Nunu's a great champion.
what I'm trying to say is that balance is something that I've always struggled with. The balance of like, I'm a professional player, I'm just here to perform, shut the fuck up, and just play my best game. And the balance of like, hey, I want to celebrate League of Legends with me, myself, and my teammates. You know what I mean? Like, I want you guys to celebrate League of Legends in the same way I celebrate League of Legends.
That's interesting.
And I just felt like, especially in those games, is like, hey, I can pull up the VOD if you want, but like, holy fuck, what the fuck are we doing? Like, I'm sorry guys, but like, you guys are playing like absolute, like, what? Hello? Like, are we playing the same game? Like, we are just refusing to kill people here. Like, we just don't want to kill them. Like, And then the argument of like, yeah, well, we don't need to kill them to win. It's just like, yeah, sure, okay. I don't know what to tell you. Like I've to this day, and like I hope that my teammates, and I mean this is just an argument that I'm always going to stick by. It's like League of Legends is a PvP game. If you're stronger, you put your mouse on the guy's head and you click on it.
Do you not think that this
And when my
goes?
teammates
This
don't
goes.
want to do that,
This goes.
I start playing worse.
Of course, but this goes against some pretty like central tenets of philosophy. Like, for example, the idea of like inaction is action. That would be like something that someone like LS or Sun Tzu might hold dear to their hearts in terms of their militaristic league campaigns. Would you not? Because being a cerebral player, it's quite for me. The disconnect here is that you're quite a cerebral player, but this is a relatively emotional state. I suppose that must be something that hampers you in some capacity, because to believe that you are cerebral, and I know that you're cerebral from speaking to you, but then also have this thing of like, I actively play worse if conditions are not met within the game, is counterintuitive to each other. I wondered if you could comment on that.
Of course. And this is where I think it's tied to the human psyche. We had a conversation about laziness.
Yeah.
Do you know what laziness is?
Sure. What is it?
Giving yourself an option that's easier. Your brain will choose the easier option. If you want to get out of bed every single day, you put you don't sleep with your alarm on your pillow. You sleep with your alarm 2-3 meters away from your bed. So you have to get up, stop your alarm, and at that point
You're up.
your body's like, well, we're up. So you're gonna get up. But if you leave it underneath your pillow, then you need to expend energy to get up, like to basically get up, right? Because you're not just getting up to stop the alarm. No, you are choosing to wake up at this time. It's the same thing when you're stronger in League of Legends. You tell me, philosophy, like inaction is action, but you have to actively understand that you're in a better position and you don't have to interact with your opponent to win. Even though you drafted characters that are stronger than them in that current time, and to me that seems like a lot more energy than just clicking on the guy when you pick the character that's just stronger than him at the time. Like I
So
picked Renekton,
you're
man.
so
Like
just
I'm
to just
I'm
to
Thanos at level 11. You know what I mean? Like one
just
item
to
level 11,
streamline
I'm the
this.
strongest character in the game.
Just to streamline this, your problem is actually that you think inaction is born from a cognitive laziness and isn't compounding multiple
No,
factors.
no. That's not what I said. That's not
Okay.
what I said. I
Okay.
said that it's both. Inaction is action, but you need to understand the game state,
No,
even
what
though you're drafting characters that are weaker later in the game. Like I'm playing Renekton, right? I'm the strongest character in the game at level 11. I've told my teammates this a million times. I will tell them this every single team I ever play on with every single time. As long as Renekton is the same champion he is today, he's the biggest stat checking champion in the game at level 11. He beats almost every single character in the game 1v1 when he burns his ultimate. His ultimate is one of the most disgusting stat checking skills in the game. Like you read that shit, it doesn't make fucking sense, man. The amount of resources this champion gets from just pressing R is insane. Okay? So when he hits level 11, he gets an extra point in that skill. It's the same level 6, by the way. That's why he's the grubs guy. You pick him when you want grubs. You pick him when you wanted Herald back in the day. You pick him if you want to fight around level 6. You pick him if you want to fight around level 11, which is right around 14 to 16 minute mark, right? 15-minute mark. If you have a good game as Renekton, you'll hit level 11. This is guaranteed, assuming you're playing top lane. So what I'm trying to tell you is philosophy in the game isn't that simple. It's not just inaction is action, therefore we don't need to do anything, we just farm and scale.
Yes, and what I'm saying to you, and I think where we actually agreed, but you maybe misunderstood me, is your
Okay.
problem with people alluding to this inaction is an inaction is that they're not following what that actual philosophy is. They're using it as an excuse.
Maybe. I don't know if they're using it as an excuse. Like I said,
Well,
I
that's
think
the
it's
general.
just,
That's the
I
general.
think it's
That's
just
the
it's just
feeling I get.
harder.
The feeling I get from you saying things, for example, like, "Oh, yes, you're saying that, but you're not considering all the factors, and it's not just as simple as that." It sounds like to me, and it's the sort of I don't know what the best way to describe it would be, but it's sort of the idea that people say inaction is action, but it's like, well, yes, but then can you actually tell me why inaction is better here? And then they probably wouldn't
Well,
be able to.
no.
In that
They
instance.
definitely can. No, they definitely can. But what I'm trying to tell you is like literally what I'm trying to tell you is that I pick the character that is going to be like I'm at my strongest. I will be the whole game.
Yeah.
I'll use Hilly as another example. So when I play Renekton, I tell my teammates when I hit level 11 and I have my first item, Stride Breaker, Cleaver, it doesn't matter. I'm the strongest I'm gonna be for the rest of the game relative to the game. Like no character can fight me 1v1. I will kill them straight up. one versus one. If someone tries to help that guy, I will fuck that guy up after killing his teammate. Like that's how OP I am. I'm so strong. It's my biggest spike in the whole game. And for me, to rely on that knowledge of like this is my biggest spike in the whole game, I want to fight here no matter what. Is a lot
Okay, I'm
easier to
understanding you
do.
more. Yeah, I understand you
It's a
more.
lot easier to do than to have the awareness and the capacity under stress to realize that actually it's not the best play because waiting would have been
Wow.
better.
Okay, cool. So this is actually a problem here, right? So you're actually someone that's quite tethered to the idea of like a North Star almost. You're very much guided in the darkness by like kind of a central goal, and any clouding towards that means you're rendered relatively lost. Would that be fair to
I
say?
I mean, I'm gonna need some League of Legends related terminology here to align with what you're trying to
Sure.
say
So
because
the idea of a North Star for someone is like this. A North Star is like a star in the sky that people can look towards, and it guides them.
yeah, sure.
It sounds like for you, you have these like kind of central goals within game that act as North Stars that you're constantly working towards and looking towards. And if the light towards that is obscured in any way, you're completely lost. This is interesting because
Oh, I don't think I'm completely lost. I think that's very unfair to say. I think I have a very good idea of how to win the game still and get creative
sure,
on how
but
to
maybe
win.
not lost, but it seems like you get frustrated at least. That's something that you've put across from
I get
speaking out.
frustrated when I don't understand what we're waiting for. Yes. Like that's what I'm saying. Like if someone takes the time to explain to me like why we're not contesting an opportunity that for me is the best opportunity I'm going to get the whole game, then I'm like, I don't know why. Especially when our practice is poor. Now, if you take the time to guide me through the conversation, help me discuss it, help me understand it, that's a completely different topic, right? Um,
Yeah.
but the reality of the matter is when things go poorly within a team, people stop taking the time to do that, and then I absolutely attach myself to these ideas because I'm hoping that that success is what's going to bring back confidence to the team and to the people I'm working with.
That makes sense. And also something that inspired mention with you is the fact that it was interesting context, and I wondered if you could allude to it, or shed some more light on it. He said that you were actually probably the most consistently performing member on FlyQuest in terms of scrims, and you were holding your own against a lot of the Eastern top laners, Chinese and Korean, and it was the case that the rest of the team were kind of getting stomped on scrims a lot, and that's where a lot of the trust issues started to manifest during this Worlds.
Well, that's just how it works. Yeah, I mean, like, that's not new to FlyQuest. That's you know what I mean. Like, I mean, me being the most consistent player, maybe like I think I've always scrimmed rather well against Asian players because I just simply put in the hours when I go to Worlds. I think it's necessary. It's the culture I've always tried to set. It's. I've been absolutely, I've been very mean about it in 2024 MSI, for example. This is the first time I was really mean to players in FlyQuest. I was just like, guys, what the fuck are we doing here? We're in Korean boot camp and we're on a Tuesday evening or Tuesday afternoon. We're going to the fucking mall. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, we out here going on dates and shit. Like, the fuck's going on? You know what I mean? For me, that was unacceptable. I'd had to change that culture. But the point I'm trying to make is I have always been extreme in my practice regime when it comes to going to Asia because this is the best player. You're getting the best practice, right? So I've always put in every single hour I can into practicing, and the reason why I'm very consistent in playing against Asian players is because I don't agree to play the champions that I know they're better at than me, unless it's under the circumstances I agreed to. So what
That's
I'm
quite
trying to say is I'm very meticulous in what matchups I play and why, and it's why I have pretty good results internationally.
That's quite interesting. It's a contrast to a lot of other players where it feels like almost. I wrote a little piece about G2 at Worlds this year, and it feels like G2 is a
Mhm.
team that consistently almost enter into the dojo of playing against Eastern teams, and rather than practicing their own martial art that they learn at home, they immediately bend to the whims of the masters in terms of practicing their martial arts and stuff like that. Consistently over the
Mhm.
last few years, it seems to be the case, and lots of players that I've spoken to over the course of these interviews talk about having to like acquiesce and give up to the demands of like like for example, the famous example is G2 like playing like what was the 2v2 combo I forget from the most recent Worlds, was it Nocturne Oriana, like just playing that the entire time
That
when
was
it just
2024, I believe. Yeah. Yeah.
2024, and it's like it's just like they didn't look good on it. Like it's just like lots of teams just seem to go to Worlds and it's like, oh shit, like this is the meta and we have to like change
Mhm.
everything we have to do. It seems like you're a rarity in that case, that you seem to be quite meticulous in what you want to do. Where does that come from?
Don't know, mate. Past experience. Like it's shocking to me that this is not a universal thing. Like 2018 Worlds, we made it to a finals. I promise you, We did not play what everyone else plays. I don't know what to tell you. Like, we did, but we were picky about it, you know? 2018 Worlds, you want to know, like, 2018 Worlds was the double crab worlds. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
It was the 215 crab worlds.
Yeah. Like level
What
3
does it mean
junglers
is
and shit like this,
you're
right?
the optimal, no, level 2 junglers. That's
Level
the
2
funny thing.
junglers,
The
yeah.
optimal way to play was to hit level 2 on your jungler after doing red buff, click on the river, and then harass an enemy laner because catch-up XP was that overpowered that you would get back into the game as a jungler no matter what you did. This was the optimal way to play for the majority of the tournament. You would pick Xin Zhao and Camille, and you would do that. Camille was the most overpowered character in the game, in the jungle.
Yeah, it's a shame you had Brox.
Agreed. It's not a shame. We knew we had Broxus. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, we
I'm
knew
taking
we
the
had
piss.
Broxus,
I'm
so we
taking
didn't
the
play
piss.
Camille. No, I'm just making sure, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same for top lane, for example. Like, I didn't play characters I wasn't good at. And that's just the reality. Like, that's just it, man. Like, you just got to pick the characters that you're going to be able to make it in time with your practice and the characters you're not going to make it in time with. And that's something that you, in your own soul and your heart of hearts, have to be honest about. And here's the kicker. You can't just be like, well, I can't prep this character. I'm not good enough. We're going to have to ban it the whole tournament. Not how that works. What you can do is, well, I won't be able to prep this character because I simply won't outperform, the majority of players at this event on this character and in these matchups. But what I can do is I can counterpick it with something specific. For example, Rumble wasn't a problem for us in drafts because I played Cassandra into it every single time it was up. So I didn't really want to play Rumble. Now, you'll notice that I did actually play Rumble, and the reality of the reason why I played Rumble is because, well, the rest of my teammates needed a top laner to be picked in that specific spot, and the best character in the game to be drafted in those spots was Rumble. Would I have, if I were to be responsible for my own drafts and my own coaching, have picked myself Rumble? Never, not in a million fucking years. But the thing about being a teammate is you have to agree to things that aren't your 100% best strengths as well sometimes, right? You have to compromise. And that's my compromise, It's like, look, I can play Rumble here, but I'm never going to carry this game. I'm just going to be an NPC and I'm going to sit there and I'm just going to, hopefully my equalizers will hit. Hopefully they won't. I'm going to win my lane or get push in my lane and maybe I'll be up 10 CS, but that's about it, right? And then I'll explain to you what the enemy top laner can do with that situation. And that's usually how I roll.
In terms of compromise, because you obviously we touched on one of the things that's very strong for you, and I wouldn't quite describe it as well. It's obviously, like you said, it's a tendency that's based in emotion somewhat. So it's not anything that's based in emotion isn't entirely rational all of the times. But in terms of this thing you're talking about, where it's a case of if things aren't followed, it's like you can feel like frustrated in the game or whatnot. What's the compromise there? Is there a compromise there, or is that just something that
absolutely, absolutely. Like, show me the way, man. Like, show me the way. Like, let me into your mind's palace and show me what a good game of League of Legends looks like for you. I'll follow it to a T.
But is that compromise? Because then, if we arrive at that conversation, is there actually going to be a positive outlook from that conversation?
Absolutely. I mean, here's my argument: there can only be a positive outcome, or there can be no outcome. If you're a professional player that cannot guide your champion to a successful outcome, stop getting paid imminently, please. The fuck are you doing as a professional player? Like, it is your responsibility to pick a character and pilot it to victory. You must know how to enter favorable situations on your character and then capitalize on these favorable situations. And if you tell me that you're just not taking every single favorable situation you can, but you also are not taking my favorable situations when I tell you I'm going to carry the fight, then yes, I don't know what the fuck to do, and I go on tilt. Not in the sense that, like, I'm not trying to win anymore, but my decision making starts suffering tremendously. And this is how I felt watching my teammates play, because I'm in the game too. I'm looking at it and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? I'll give you a very stark and clear example. You want to pull up the VOD, you can. I have no problem with it. Game 3 against G2, I swapped into mid lane. I played Renekton mid against Orianna, and I burned his TP and his ultimate when he had no flash by all-inning him with my ult. My Nautilus and Sejuani walk past this guy's lane when he has no TP as an Orianna, and there's a fresh wave there, and neither of them want to flash on him and kill him. Okay, sure. So he's walking into the river, melee ranging me. This happens around the 14-minute mark. I'm going to actually pull up the timestamp exactly here. Worlds 2025, Fly versus G2. And again, like, don't get me wrong, like, I could have carried those situations had I maintained all my resources and just from start to finish carried the whole game, which I definitely could have. But to me, that is a separate instance that I want to discuss, right? I just want to, I want to discuss that in a moment. I definitely could have, and I didn't have that capacity, but I want to go here, right here. So the first timing that I was talking about here, let me just pull up the timestamp here so we can discuss it. directly, because to me, like, we would have denied Oriana 2 waves at level 9. Like, it's a pretty big deal, you know what I mean? You want me to screen share it or not?
You could, but it will be difficult for me to show the stream. So it's
Okay, well,
one
I'll
of those
just
things
bring it.
where
I'll
it's
just
one of
bring it
those.
up briefly, gameplay related, right? So anyway, my point is, game 3, it's 9:30. I blow my ultimate. I take his whole health bar. I push him in. He is in fact, he has no ultimate now. I crash the wave. He's catching it. We're both base DPing at 10 minutes, and then both my support and jungler are just there while I'm freezing on this guy, and we're just not clicking on him. Like, we don't want to kill this guy. Like, he's just pissing on us, and we just don't want to kill him, because the thing is, he has no flash, no ult. Like, if any of them flash anything, the guy will just die. You can flash Sejuani ult him and he'll die. You could flash hook him and he'll die. And we just don't want to kill this guy. And that's fair enough, right? But at that point, I was like confused, because I was like, I'm mega strong here. Like, we don't want to kill this guy. That's a bit weird. Now, the window wasn't super large. I think there was like a 10, 15-second window. And we might agree, oh, we didn't want to take that window because there could be someone backing him up. No problem. Now, I make a mistake, and I end up dying at 13:30, whatever. Like, the game goes a bit back into the enemy team's favor. But here's the next moment. At 15 minutes and 10 seconds, this is the strongest I'm ever going to be. My teammates know this. I've told them this a million times. The virus has no flash, and he's just walking in the river in front of my whole team, and I'm just like confused, because I want to click on the guy's head. I'm like at the point where I'm like about to melee range 3 people 1 versus 4, because I want to fight that badly. And we just don't want to click on them and fight them. And I just don't understand how the fuck we're missing that opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, I just didn't get how a flashless Oriana, flashless Varus, with 2 pretty much useless characters in the river, because Mundo and Rel are not going to do shit if their carries are going to die, right? At that level. I just don't know how we're not killing everyone there. I just don't. I have the freeze frame right here. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna print screen it for you, right? Let me print screen that real quick for you, and then you can tell me, right? But to me, in the game, I felt like, for me, it was baffling that we're not taking this opportunity. And I think in this moment, I started feeling the pressure to create things, because I did not get whatsoever what I'm waiting for. I genuinely, I was like, holy fuck! Like, so we didn't want to flash on the guy when he has no flash and he has no TP. We don't want to take this fight when they have no summoner spells on Oriana, or thinking like, look where I'm standing, man. You know this Oriana, if you actually roll the clip, he's gonna melee range me. Like, if I start fighting him there and my teammates collapse, we will kill everyone. And to me, it's really hard to overcome that, because I spend so much effort in making sure everyone on my team knows what's going on in my psyche and what I'm doing with the characters
Could you
I'm
move
picking.
could you just move your mic a little bit away from your face, because you're peaking slightly? Just you should
Oh,
be
okay. Sorry about
it
that.
should be fine. Very passionate
Yeah, I got
rant,
you.
so it's all good.
Yeah, sorry. For me, I spend so much effort in making sure that my teammates know I want to fight there. You know what I mean? Like, I have that discussion every single time I need to
I
have it.
understand what's central to the agitation. I mean, I think you've made it clear through your kind of philosophy. I guess my only concern would be is that people, in hearing you say that, it's very focused on others' mistakes, but you are also aware, and you've made it clear somewhat that you recognize this as an emotional based response, right? And for it to impact you in terms of tilt, I would assume you're not like. I would assume you're not happy with the fact that you can't remove emotion from the fact that you're responding to that in tilt, right? Because it's not like the bet. Yeah. What would be your
It's my weakness.
what would be your reflection on that? Because I think that's something that people would be interested in hearing. Because people are just hearing from that, oh, they did this, they did that. But what's like the human reality of you and your shortcomings in regards to how you respond to that?
The human reality that I've come to the conclusion of is that, like, I can't be expending my energy worrying about other people's game if I want to be completely rational about the way I'm playing my own game.
Explain that.
Like, basically, is if I'm concerned about the well-being of my teammates, and I'm concerned about the way they view the game, and I'm concerned about, like, helping them and helping them understand what I need to succeed, and I'm trying to understand what they need to succeed, and I'm meeting them on their end of, like, hey, this is what you need to succeed, then I expect the same from them towards me. And I've made this clear to every single team I've joined. I am the way I am. Some things are going to be really fucking hard to change about me, and this is one of those things that's going to be really hard to change about me, because this is what is the grounds of my success. As much as it doesn't do me favors against the literal best teams in the world at the World Championship or MSI, it gets me there.
Well, here's a difficult question for you then. How much do you think you're tied to ideals that you developed in 2018? Because this is something that
No, it's not just 2018. This is my whole League of Legends career, my friend. It has nothing to do with 2018.
well,
As a matter of fact, in 2018, I was the polar opposite. I was the guy that didn't give a fuck about anything else other than my own performance, and I made sure that I never made mistakes that would jeopardize the team's success. And I think that's the easiest role you can take within a team. I think it takes no skill whatsoever. Actually, I think not no skill, but it's the most unskilled role to have in your team. To be that guy that just rolls up, plays a 5-5 matchup, and just doesn't feed. You don't play to get advantages. You don't play to do shit. You just sit in your lane. You farm creeps like in one of the most simple matchups in the game, and you just farm and scale, and you'll be useful later. You lock in Victor top lane, and a champion that's so disgustingly overpowered in lane that you can't even be in the same screen as him without him obliterating you. Like this is what I did. That's why I know it's unskilled, because I did that. I picked the strongest laner I could find, and I just locked it in. I picked Urgot top lane, the most disgusting champion I've ever seen in top lane in the iteration that he was designed in 2018. The character had 120 health shield or some bullshit on a like 12-second cooldown. You know how disgusting that is? Every single minion wave you try to interact with me, I had 2 shields the size of a health potion. How can you beat me in lane? The answer is you can't. And that's what I'm trying to say. Is there's a lot of characters you can pick like that. Ambessa is one of the more recent ones. The most recent one, Cassante, comes to mind. Like, dude, if you look at these champion spells, they have health potions on their skills. They press W and they get a health potion. Or Cassante presses E and he gets like 110 health level 1. Huh? How are you supposed to beat this guy in lane? You can't. So what I'm saying is picking those characters, picking these characters and going even, and just having no pressure to perform and create a good situation. The only thing you're trying to do is farm.
Absolutely. Right? The passion is infectious for sure. But I also want to circle back to the question that I had in regards to, if you're saying that the ideals that you're tied to in regards to, because what we were talking about is like you're very centered on certain ideas about the game.
I'm very centered on trying to win.
Sure.
And I think that what I need you to understand is trying to win and playing League of Legends are 2 different things.
Okay, explain that.
Like I said, if you're trying to win, you are creating environments where your character will perform better than your counterpart. To win in League of Legends, it's a 1 versus 1 situation. Like to outperform someone in a 1 versus 1 lane, or lane to lane, whether it's jungle versus jungle, top versus top, AD carry versus AD carry, support versus support, it doesn't matter. You must outperform your opponent, correct?
Indeed, yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
You must deal more damage to champions, deal more damage to objectives, gather more gold, which again, gold and experience translate to more damage to objectives and champions. That's how it works in League of Legends, right?
In theory, yeah.
Well, the goal of the game is kill the enemy nexus, so being able to deal more damage to structures and champions is directly going to relate to winning the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Every single time. It's not a theory. It's just the way it is. That's how it works.
I'm also meant that like they're not directly linear like all of the time, right? Like, there's nuance within those in those like linear structures, right?
Disagree with you. Make gold, deal damage, you will win more. Just the way it is.
Of course, you'll win more statistically, right? But more so, what I'm saying is like these aren't like linear graphs, for example. Like sometimes it's for 2 teams, got thresholds for gold might mean different things contextually based on different team compositions and stuff like that. Would that not be fair to say?
Exactly. That is the nuance I'm talking about, and this is exactly my point.
So
there's
you
an
agree with me
optimal
then?
time and place. I agree with what I'm trying to tell you is I agree that there is an optimal time to play the game. Engage in combat. That's the point I agree with.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And that's what I'm trying to tell you. If you want to win, you must determine that optimal time to enter in combat with your opponents. And if you do not have a vision of when that is, you are trolling. You are just bad. That's your job. Literally, your job is to outperform your opponent. So you need to determine which item your champion will outperform your opponent. If you drafted an early game champion, you are saying that before items are completed, I'm stronger than you, so I have to push for an advantage, right? I have to steal your camps. I have to take a dragon. I have to take grubs. I have to click on your plates. Whatever, right? Small advantages that will snowball into something bigger later, right? That's the idea of an early game composition. The idea of a scaling composition is I'm going to withstand whatever you throw at me up until the point where my character is going to outperform you, because now I've withstood your early game assault. With my item completions, I deal more damage to you. and I will beat you. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
That's what a lot of professional players don't know how to do. And that's what bothers me. That's why I have a hard time performing under pressure, because for me, if you don't tell me when is the opportunity going to come and you can't articulate that and you can't help me understand that in practice, and then you expect me to go on stage and then have a perfect and clear vision of the game when I'm under a lot of stress, you're under a lot of stress, my natural instinct is to try and fight opponents anyway on timings that work for me. And when I'm disconnected with my teammates, I will make mistakes because you need to make the same play together. And I completely agree that I could have just not showed up to any of these situations, kept farming, and had 3 items at 24 minutes and carried the game. But that wasn't the vision I had. I felt the pressure to be there and fight those opportunities because in the state of the game, these champions didn't have summoner spells. So I thought this would be our best and easiest way to win. Because you don't have to do something. Doesn't mean that it's bad to do it.
I feel as if I'm almost traversing a very deep maze here. It's quite difficult in some ways. I'm intaking all of it, and it's all very interesting, but it's difficult to get to grips with. I think there are key central things that are interesting to me here. You're very tied to your ideals, as you would call winning the game, but they are ideals nonetheless. One of the things that you said there that struck out to me is this is actually tangentially opposite to what you are now. You were very different in 2018. So I guess my main question would be, if 2018 isn't what forged you as an inception point, where do all these ideas come from? Because that would have been meant it was after making a world final. So you changed your philosophy in some ways after making a world final. What was the big year in terms of forging some of these ideals?
It was 2018. It's just my teammates were taking the responsibility to lead and guide the game.
So you learnt it there, but you weren't
Yeah.
inhabiting it.
Because I wasn't good enough. I didn't have the skill to manipulate the game into my favor.
Okay. So this is
It's a lot harder to get someone to wrestle someone into playing your opening. You ever played chess?
Yeah, decent amount, yeah.
Yeah. So an opening is the concept of an opening is to designate certain set amount of squares that you're going to contest. And when your opponent contests those squares, you have the advantage in those squares, because the game of chess is about space. It's about taking squares, right? The more squares you control, the easier it is for you to gain material.
Yeah, or the more valuable a piece is, depending on how many what
Exactly.
kind of
Squares
space
you
it
control.
inhabits, right? Yeah.
Right. So a chess opening is exactly that. League of Legends is the same thing. It takes real skill to lure your opponent into your game plan. Genuinely difficult to do, especially if the opponents you're playing against become better and better, right? That's why playing chess against someone that is 700 elo is a lot easier than someone that is 2700 elo, right? Because they know what you're doing. The skill is just to put them in a position where they have no better options. This is really fucking hard. What I'm trying to say is if you're a professional player that's getting paid to play a video game, you should have that level of skill consistently. And a lot of professional players do not pursue that skill because they enjoy simply pretending like they can keep up in the game. Because keeping up in the game is really easy, relatively. Like
To liken
the
it,
skill what I'm trying to tell you is the skill I'm trying to explain to you is really difficult. It's very fucking hard to play against some of the best players in the world and put them in situations where they have to agree to either concede a wave under their tower or whatever it may be, concede golden space to you,
I'm actually
right?
really. I hope that you actually appreciate that. I'm actually following what you're saying right now, and I actually really get it. I think it's really good. I've never had it. I've never heard it put like this. So you're
I'm happy
essentially
that I'm doing that.
okay. That's really nice. I'm really enjoying this. This is good. I think we're finally getting somewhere. So to liken it to chess, you're basically saying that a lot of players, and we talked about the thing before with G2, it's a lot of like handshaking that goes on. Lots of people just acquiesce to the demands. They want to play the same tempo, and they fail to. What you're talking about is playing your own game, making moves that people on the back foot, and make people actually make responses in the game. It's sort of like in chess. In chess, tempo exists. For example, if you put you've put someone into check, for example, then you get a move in advance, right? It's like sort of essentially if you were to extrapolate tempo within League into chess, it's sort of like you're presenting options constantly. You're not leaving any moves idle.
Sure. I think the easiest way I can explain it to you is this. If you study an opening and Magnus Carlsen agrees to play it, and this opening has been studied until the 20th move, you can meet him move for 20 moves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But the second he deviates, you're fucked.
Mm.
Welcome to why Western teams implode past the mid game. Because people spend all their energy matching the opening and none of their energy actually playing the game.
Well, yeah.
Because to me, opening the game with your laning phase and playing, this is the simplest part of
Well,
the game.
it's. I've always thought in terms of analogs. I can't remember who it was I had a conversation about chess with, but it was years ago in one of the older podcasts. But there are a lot of analogs between chess in that openings are like kind of by this point worked out almost, machine learned. Any like 12-year-old with a computer can like learn openings like the same way that like an autistic 11-year-old from like the Soviet Union can learn pi to like 15 million digits, right? Like it's any opening is like possible. But mid game is so like openings is kind of like laning phase in some capacity. Obviously, Western players are pretty bad at lane though, right? But like mid game and late game is where like creativity comes out because you have to deviate. Late game especially. Late game is a bit more routines, but mid game is the most creative part of the game, right? Because this is where deviations and on the fly anticipations occur.
So here I'm going to lead you into my philosophy.
Okay, cool. They're great.
If you do not have concepts that you can stick to as a team, moments such as Renekton's really strong at level 11, he should fight here. The stress of having to lane against these players is much larger when you're against an Asian player because they're better. Every split second you make, you have to be more accurate, right? Like the difficulty of a decision making based game is that when you're playing against stronger composition, you must increase the accuracy of your decisions. Me not basing on a certain wave doesn't matter too much if my opponent does not recognize that he can punish me for it, right?
Yeah.
So you must have increased accuracy and you must perform better mechanically because they will challenge you on the mechanics as well. This is not just West versus East. It's the same in West versus West. I play against Mr. BrokenBlade Arcana, or I lane against, I don't fucking know, 9th place LEC top laner or whatever, or I lane against, 8th place LEC, LTA top laner. It's the same thing. You have it within the league as well. You play against me in the league, or you play against the 8th place player in the league, the results of you making a mistake will vary drastically. You will feel like, oh shit, we just lost the game here, or oh shit, I lost all my agency here, right? Against a good player. So what I'm saying is because the stress is larger, you must find ways as a team to connect and rely on each other because having that clear-cut sense of like, I know exactly what's going on. I have, all my decisions are completely rational in the moment. After having scrimmed these motherfuckers for 3 weeks straight into playing on a stage with a fucking million people watching you is just, sorry to say, fucking stupid. What do you think we are? I'm a human, man. I'm gonna fuck up, whether you like it or not.
Okay, so let's talk about human error in regards to. I want to keep on the chess analogy. So I'm sure you're familiar with like when you play against like supercomputers, for example. The progress bar at the side of the match, for example. If we were to play a match and we're similarly matched, like a small errors are contextual to the skill level I might leverage over you, right? Similar to what you're talking about playing 8th place top lane or whatever. If you play against 8th place top laner, the mistakes that you make is leveraged differently to if you play against
Sure.
Khan or some like a really really good top laner, right? Similar to in chess, for example, if someone makes a mistake, a supercomputer, then that one move might be enough to calculate checkmate in 50 moves. Like the computer might already see 50 moves in advance. How do you live with that in your mind? Because you're both in one mind accepting that at any time you're capable of making mistakes that might move the progress bar and allow the top laners that you play against to leverage your mistakes much higher. But you're also perhaps one of the only players on your team that's able to see that idea of a progress bar.
I mean, it's really simple. They're not that good. They're not AI. I mean,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. Like, they're not that much better. They're better, but the margin of better is not like, holy fuck, there's no hope here. Now I think when there's a collective, like, look at it this way, you could put an elo number on every single player on your team, and when the collective elo hits over 500 difference, I think that's the games where you watch it and you're like, well, no matter what they
Well,
do,
like
these games are
similar
cooked
to
start
to
to
again
finish.
put it back to chess, like in Elo difference to that they say that like 300 is like the difference between like an extra horse or an extra piece, right? So it's like when you have
I mean,
when you have
the system is
differences
in place already, yeah.
when you have differences at that capacity, perhaps it's like playing the joke would be like playing with an extra player or playing with one less player.
Oh, but that's the best way I've described it is this is when you play in those kind of games and like everyone on the enemy team has tempo, they're not playing with one queen. They've got 4 queens on the board. Like you can't win because every single move they make spans across the whole map. Every single move they make, like they win everywhere, no matter what you do, and regardless of the decision you make, they can mobilize more pieces to every single play you make. It's why the game feels unplayable because every decision you make gets countered quickly and effectively, right? They've just got more quality of pieces, basically. It's not so much that they have more players. No, it's just the quality per piece is just way higher because every single move you can make is one square forward with your little pawns, and every single move they can make is, whether it be diagonally, straight,
Well, so
horizontally,
yeah, no,
or
yeah,
vertically.
in many ways,
They just span way more space.
in
They
many
take way
in
more
many
space
ways,
capacity.
that's like a wow. League is actually a lot more like even more like chess than I thought. I'd already like found a lot of analogs, but at a certain point, like when the game advances to that stage, it is essentially like when you are down a lot of pieces in chess, whereby the board is just lost to you. Like you are the thing you're
You're
talking
just
about advancing the
pushing
pawns there is very
pawns.
interesting. Yeah, exactly.
You've got
Um,
pawns to play with, and your opponents, zooming around the map. Their junglers at the queen because, they've got the bishop pair from hell, making sure that no one on bot or mid lane can play the game. Your whole river is dark and full of terrors. Your top laner, the enemy top laner, has TP advantage because he lanes better than your top laner, so you can't even make a play anywhere without that guy TPing on your screen.
absolutely.
Uh, it's suffocating. It really is. But what I'm trying to say is, uh, it's rare nowadays that an Asian team is that much better than the best Western teams. Um, that is rare in my experience. It used to happen much more frequently. I feel like.
Sure. So actually, you would actually run. I've got two questions. So this is my first one to spawn off of that. Then I'll try my best to remember what I was going to ask. It relates to tempo, if you remember that, and we can circle back to it.
Sure, yeah.
But you're saying actually, in some ways, that would imply to me that the gap is lessening, as opposed to widening.
The gap lessened in 2018 when the game decided that vision was a tool that was vision is a tool. All right, let's discuss vision here for a second here. I believe vision is a tool to make better decisions. Vision by itself doesn't do anything, but when you have vision, you can make a better decision because you know where someone can be and where they cannot be.
Well, it's information, right? Like at its purest, information,
Yeah,
and more
exactly,
information allows you to make better informed decisions, right?
exactly. So with that in mind, when they removed vision, because that's what they did, they removed Tracker's knife. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember this item.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
was the green
Well,
jungle item.
famously, Dandy and Marta in season 4 like made a whole. They revolutionized the way the game was played around Vision, right? Like you literally made it so that they could guide their way through the entire map without being seen, and just like made it so that the game was just impossible to play against them, right?
Yeah, sure.
You disagree with that, or
I don't know. I wasn't there, so I'll take your word for it. I
okay,
was just
sure,
a noob
okay,
spectator. I had no idea.
fair. No, go ahead, go ahead.
Hard for me to believe. Hard for me to believe that they, I don't know, had a 100 unit range Oracle lens on at all times. But if they did, then they must have been
No,
very fucking good. Yes.
someone will have someone will be able to correct me on this, but I remember it being a thing where like literally they were like so good at vision where they literally like had it so that like the jungler could just walk around the map without being seen the entire time. Like they literally like there's loads of like
Oh, yeah,
weird
yeah.
shit they did with vision.
I can believe that their laners were so much better at playing around vision than the opponents, and therefore they always had vision control. Therefore, their jungler could go across the map wherever he wanted,
I'm
which is
just
exactly what I'm saying.
I'm distracting you away from what you were saying. Sorry, what were you talking about?
No, that's okay. What I'm saying is the second that they removed consistent vision from the game,
Yeah.
better players got punished because they got less information. So now taking gambles can pay off. So if you're a worse player, you can just say, "Ah, fuck it, I'm stronger than him 1v1. I'll just fight him and see what happens," right? But
Hmm.
a better player usually weighs like, well, what if there's someone there? What if, you know what I mean? Like he's considering every single angle before he's going to actually jump in and take an angle. A worse player doesn't care. He's just like, oh, I beat you. I guess I'll just click on you, right? I mean, logically thinking, a better player in League of Legends is more consistent. League of Legends is a game based on consistency. That's all that it really is. Being high on the ladder is not something. You're not high on the ladder because you had one game where you dropped 40 kills. Being high on the ladder is you consistently outperform your opponent. And to consistently outperform your opponent, you will use the information to your advantage to make better decisions. And you will climb slowly. I had to clarify that just so we could agree on what it means to be a better player in League of Legends. Now, a better player will weigh both the positives and the negatives of a play before they make a play. A worse player will just make the play because they see something positive on their screen, so they'll just click on it, right? Just wanted to clarify that. And because there's less vision, thanks to that change, better players that have more insight on the game, right? They have more understanding of the game, need to invest resources of their own, right? To get information. So now you have to take a turn to get information. You didn't have to do this in the past because your jungler was literally designed and the built and picked, because this is what the characters people picked as well. Keep that in mind. To do this, they picked Jarvan and he would run around and he would get vision for you the whole game. They picked Lee Sin and he would run around and he would get vision. And the mobility of these characters, plus the fact that they did some early game damage so they could pressure laners, was the surefire way to win early game. Is you pick a strong character, takes the space, and then he puts a ward in the space so that your laners can make better decisions and they will carry the game. This changed because now that you don't have vision, the laners need to give it to the jungler.
So
the laners have to go out of their way to gather vision now, and this was something that wasn't necessary back in the day. And when that changed, it meant that a better player, because now he wins the first 3 waves, let's say, he has to stop pressuring you and put down a ward. He can't just keep shitting on you. And that moment of breathing room can allow you to catch the wave, recall, and teleport back. It can allow you to, regain position in the lane. It can, there's a lot of different things you can do to stabilize the laning
would I be
phase.
right in saying what you're saying is essentially the game changed Season 8 onwards to allow for a lot more variance, which allows Western players to compete because variance allows them to cheat the fact that they might be lacking in some departments?
You could boil it down to that. I definitely think there are some Western players that could compete back then as well, so I don't think that's completely fair to say.
Obviously, it's a gross oversimplification, but at a base level, by the by, generally speaking, would that be fair to say?
I guess so. I mean, I don't know. Not really a statement I'm comfortable making here, to be honest with you.
Sure, of course, but
I wasn't there. I don't know how good people were in scrims or whatever.
Of course, but allow me to understand more so, because you're talking about a change from Season 8 onwards, that being a big contributor in a gap lessening in some capacity. Could you I'm saying ELI5 like I'm literally on Reddit. Could you explain it and simplify it maybe more so from... I understand somewhat, I believe, but like maybe for people out there as well. And also I think I could get a better understanding. Explain to me, because you're talking about vision and how that increases gap. To me, it came across as it allows more variance.
Yes, that is what it comes down to. It allows more variance, but also it means that due to the nature that the jungler can't have permanent vision, right? Because the jungler can't put permanent vision down, people have to invest resources into vision.
Okay.
And have to use their time to gather vision, right? Now there's a limited amount of wards in the game. Like supports don't get their sight stone until 400 gold into their quest, whatever, right? I don't know what timing game that normally is, like 8 or 9 minutes. And what I'm trying to say is most laning phase matchups start getting spicy after the second base. Basically around the point where they have their core component. So when Lost Chapter is completed for Orianna, that's when she's going to start putting on the fight, like the heat. You know what I mean? Like you're going to start feeling the pressure. Same for like Victor. And I'm mentioning these champions very specifically because, well, this was the meta back in 2016, 2017. And my point is at that point, junglers and supports had so much vision that the mid laners, the talented mid laners like Faker, Scout, Rookie, like they would lock in these champions and they would put your mid laner in the fucking ground because your mid laner couldn't breathe. There was no moment where the guy had to stop pressuring because his jungler and support lit up the enemy jungler like the Christmas tree. You know what I mean? There was no bush, no angle for you to gank. And if there was, then you'd get pissed on because they're hovering the side that has full vision.
Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to say: is those mid laners didn't have to play the vision.
Oh, so
game.
It's also
I annihilate you.
So at some capacities, also the vision allowed Korean teams to keep a consistent strangle over a game, and keep control over it and never relent that. Whereas now it's a lot more a case of that tempo and that control can be exchanged more handily at more times. Like it's more of a rally in tennis.
it takes more minutes in game before you can have that kind of vision control, and due to the fact that the
Okay.
game has been
Yes.
out
Yes.
for
Yes. Yes.
12 years, people at that point in time have learned, for the most part, to be able to compete with players, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I do think the gap has
And that also ties
lessened.
into what you were saying earlier, because it's almost as if the game has been adapted towards the opening stage of the game. The openings has been extended.
Yes,
The grace has been extended to Western teams, but then the point at which we get to the mid game is the point in which that adaptation and creativity comes
correct.
in, by which computationally Western teams can't compete, generally speaking.
Yeah, like what I'm trying to say is, first base you could get Tracker's Knife in 2017, and that was literally full clear. So you had 4 minutes, and after 4 minutes, the enemy jungler would know exactly where your jungler, like he would have a full
So
sight
Korean
of
teams,
vision.
Korean teams used to be able to foreclose the mid game about 10 minutes earlier than they were otherwise, or what we would contextually refer to as the mid game. Not technically speaking, it's more so that we're bringing that point of what would be I fucking hell, I haven't slept, so I can't find the word. In terms of like when we go to that mid game and you're like looking for stuff that's not by the book, they're able to bring that period forward by about 10 minutes, generally speaking.
Um, what I'm trying to say is you're overcomplicating it. What I'm saying is at 4 minutes, Faker knew exactly where your jungler and support were for the rest of the game, and he clicked on Lost Chapter, and he clicked on your mid laner's head, and he annihilated him because he's a better player individually.
Sure. Okay.
Now, in order to leverage your ability as a player individually, you must take a round of vision, at which point you can receive a wave and recall, for example, while he's doing that.
Okay.
That's why, for example, Chovy is as good as he is, and why he's insane, because those moments of relief that you would normally find, he doesn't allow you, because he's doing it while he's laning against you. Like, he's getting vision while he's laning against you. The wave's in a position where you can't crash it, and it's not crashing for you just yet, so you can't just blow it up and receive it while he's getting vision. This is like a nuance of skill that was not seen before. Not this consistently, right? This is why Chovy is Chovy. Because it's not as simple as just like, someone's giving me vision and I'm better than you mechanically, so I put you in the ground. I'm using Faker as an example here because I mean, it's just the most obvious one, but Rookie's another great example, right? Uzi comes to mind. It's the same thing. His jungler and support gave him full side of vision at 4 minutes. After the full clear happened, they would recall, buy Tracker's Knife, control ward. Their support would buy a control ward, and there you go, Christmas tree for the rest of the game. So of course, when he's better than you mechanically, he puts his foot right up your arse, and you have to get it out of there. The pressure never stops because those boards don't have a timer, they don't have a cooldown, they don't have a delay. It's just pure getting owned on cooldown with no mercy. You feel
Yeah,
me?
absolutely. I think I understand more. Um,
And that kind of pressure is insanely difficult to withstand as a player if you are worse than your opponent. Like, it's just like, Varus top, it's really funny. Like, they IG, we scrimmed them before they played. The shy picked Varus up against me, and I was playing Ambessa, and you think like, oh wow, that sounds like that sounds like a bad idea, because if anything goes wrong, you lose the game, right? Well, yeah, you're 100% correct. But the thing is if you don't click on the guy's lane when he clicks on my tower in the second wave when it crashes, and then he clicks on my tower on the fourth wave when it crashes, and he just hits me for every single CS I take, it turns out I have the 10 CS and he has 40. And that's like what I'm saying is like, you can't, in the current day and age of League of Legends, there is no strategy to avoid the enemy team from interacting with one of your laners, because there will be gaps in vision.
you
And
could you,
that, my
you
friend,
you could just call it
is
you could just call inspired, and just say, "Hey, man, let's." No,
I told him this.
I'm,
I told him this as well. I
I'm
told him this
fucking
straight up.
with
Like,
you.
I told him straight up. No, I'm serious. I told him the same thing. I told my coaches this. Like, look, if someone picks Varus top and you don't click on him, he's gonna fuck me. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's just the way it works. Like, it's not even skilled. Like, I can do it too. If I pick Varus and I slow push 2 waves and then hit him for every single range creep he tries to farm, like, he's gonna go down 10 CS in 3 minutes. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, you can try it in practice tool. Like, that's the funny thing. You could play Varus against me, and I could play Ambessa. And if I told you like, hey, just fight me, just click on
I
me with
think you
no
would
mercy,
be.
like,
I
don't
think you
even
would
use
be.
your
You
brain,
would be
you would
in.
punish me.
You would be infinitely impressed by my inability to do that. But I wouldn't want you to lose respect for me in that way. But in any case, we've grounded some really core central concepts here in a really interesting and illuminating way. I wanted to talk about tempo earlier. If you could kind of elucidate or kind of illuminate more so what tempo
Hmm?
is, in an analogy format, we could use chess or anything that you think can contain it. Because to me, tempo in League is quite difficult for someone that doesn't play in a professional environment to understand. In that it kind of operates in the same way that it does in like tennis in some ways, or maybe in chess. There's a call and response nature to it in some capacity.
Yeah.
We touched on it earlier with like chess. Tempo becomes more accessible if certain conditions are met in the game, if positional advantages are met, if
Mhm.
you know, stuff like this. I wondered if you could touch on this and maybe explain it better for people.
So I'm going to give a shout out to Spawn here because he is the first person I heard saying it. So I don't know where it came from, but he used the 15-second rule as a way to explain it, and I think that's the easiest way for people to understand is a minion wave spawns every 30 seconds in League of Legends, and minion waves are what drives the game. You need to have a minion wave in order to pressure your opponent and hit his structures, right?
Hmm.
In other words, if you don't have a minion wave next to you, you can't make progress on my tower. Therefore, you cannot make progress in the game. You can only farm and get stronger, right?
Yeah.
So when there's no minion wave, you can not be in that lane. You don't have to be. They can't do anything there. So the 15-second rule is simple. You've got 15 seconds to push a wave, and you've got 15 seconds to play the game. What is playing the game? It's putting down a ward. It could be roaming to a different lane and actively making a play on their minion wave. It can be anything. It could be recalling. But the thing is once you have pushed that wave and you recall, then guess what happens? Your opponent's going to push the wave first. So he gets to make his 15-second play. Now, here's the beauty of it 15 seconds is an arbitrary number. Some champions delete minion waves in 3 seconds. Looking at you, Talia. Talia is a strong champion because she one-shots the minion wave in 3 seconds, and then she even has increased movement speed when she runs around the map, so she can make more committed decisions more frequently, therefore making more progress, because she will make it to the minion wave on a side lane.
Would you describe that as cheating tempo, or is this just different time delineations for different
No,
champions?
no, no, no. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like that is tempo. There's not cheating tempo. He's just a champion that
Exactly.
inherently can create it.
But is that a misconception that people make? Because people talk about champions as cheating tempo, but what you've described it as there is just that they exist on just different time intervals.
I think cheating tempo is when a character can ignore the opponent completely. I think that's when you're cheating tempo.
What would examples of that be if you could give me some?
Rise can cheat tempo early game in the sense that he can just stand there, take your whole combo, kill your wave, and ignore you.
Okay.
Usually, when a champion gets interacted on, they're too weak to do something with their tempo. So what they're going to do is just recall. And when you recall, you don't really gain tempo. You just maintain it. You don't do anything. It's like passing your turn. You're recalling. You're choosing to get stronger, right?
Talk to me about maintaining tempo because that's an interesting concept, right? Because it's similar to like in chess, the idea of maintaining tempo would be like holding a piece in position and continually moving and like not letting off the gas, essentially, like not taking your foot off the pedal. Is
That's
this?
exactly what maintaining tempo is. Is I'm not going to make a play right now because if I make a play and capture something,
I'm spending
I
my
don't
tempo.
like. Well, I don't like what I'm getting for my tempo, so I'm going to choose not to take anything so that I can always be ready for whatever you try to do or for a better opportunity down the line.
What's the best example of, for example, of holding tempo within game, and like waiting to use it for a particular example? When are you like holding tempo and deciding what to use it on? Because you've kind of said it there. Like,
Sure. All right, I'm a mid laner. I've hovered bot lane, and the enemy AD carry opened the tower. They decided to leave the tower, right?
mhm.
The enemy support is under the tower, and instead of fully committing to my move and diving the enemy support and using our resources to kill the enemy support, I'm going to be happy with the fact that the enemy AD carry was unable to farm the minions under the tower. And instead of committing to the move and killing the support, and therefore using my tempo to kill a support, I will keep my tempo. I will go back to mid lane and I will push again, and I will repeat the process until someone, basically until the bleeding of minions becomes so substantial that we've been able to acquire a large enough lead to win the game by naturally denying the guy over and over again. Or we force the enemy jungler or support to come and start contesting some squares in our river because their AD carry is bleeding farm every single time I hover.
That seems like it's
But,
a pretty high order concept because you talked about it, difficult skill sets being attainable by certain players. That seems like that could be quite something quite difficult to spot. The idea of
oh, it's
maintaining.
it's 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 very difficult. This is why I'm telling you, like, this is why it's a two-pronged conversation for me. on one end, it's very difficult. So when there is low amounts of pressure on you, it is something that you can consistently do, and you have no problem with that. But in order for there to be an environment where there's low amounts of pressure on a player, he needs to be in an environment where he is comfortable with the outcome of the game, and he feels like, um, I mean, this is my experience. This is anecdotally. It can be different for other players, but for me, when I'm comfortable on a team is when I feel like I'm going to have an easy time playing my game. I don't feel like I need to do anything crazy to have a chance at winning. I can just play my game, and I can see, I can see what happens, and I feel like I'm going to get an opportunity to play my game and create some opportunities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
That's my comfort zone. I don't really care too much whether we're going to win or lose. I just want to know that I'm allowed the space to make my decision, fight on the timings that I like to fight, and go from there. So what I'm trying to tell you is you need to have a comfort zone to be able to perform against the best players in the world consistently and use these concepts to your advantage.
Do you not feel like potentially this is a problem I run into with certain people is that I am actually completely with you on this, and I think that if I was to be good at this game, that I would like to think that my game philosophy would line up with this because I think it makes logical sense to me. But without being funny, like I also understand where the difficulty in maybe letting this come across. Like this is a really difficult thing to explain to people. So how do you deal with that? Because in order to explain this to people, I could also empathize with people not getting this because it's really hard to like understand. Like, and I think
Well,
like if you're just someone
I
who
think
plays League, like it's difficult to get.
I understand it's not an easy concept to understand, but the easiest way I've found to explain it to people is relating it to actual physical sports. If you're playing physical sports, let's say football, and you
Mm.
feel like you have to sprint inhumane speeds in order to create any meaningful advantage for your team, in other words, putting the ball in the right position because your team play isn't good enough to compete with your opponents, there are people on this planet that will go out of their way to reach those inhumane speeds, and they would rather do that than lose. So what they will do is they will create this habit of when they're in this pressure situation to try and reach those speeds, right? Like they will sprint like that, and they will not be able to kill the habit because in their mind the standard starts becoming set of like, if I want to win everything, this is the standard I've set. This is what I have to maintain. So this player is no longer conserving their energy like in a smart way. He's just like, any chance I get at a goal, I'm fucking flying for that ball and I'm kicking it as hard as I can, theoretically speaking. So the energy expended is no longer rational. It's just purely from a passionate desire of winning that one is reacting and performing. And I think that I am that kind of person where for me I really like, killing the enemy nexus at the end of the day on the big stage is more important to me than anything. Like if you tell me I have to die 17 times to kill the enemy nexus, I'll gladly do it because I got to kill the enemy nexus. People can make fun of me for the rest of my life for winning a game with 17 kills. I don't care. I got to kill their nexus type of deal. And I think that that's where the disconnect is, where a lot of people just don't get that some people are just, something irrational up here makes them want to win that badly. And they're going to push their limit over and over again just to get a chance at winning. And I think that's why you get those Cinderella stories sometimes too of teams that like they pushed that limit.
Mm.
And they all did it together, and as a result they were able to make it there. Like I think a lot of individual players get celebrated for this over the course of the years. I think Caps is a good example of this in my opinion, where it's like the guy's pushed his team over the limit so many times over so many years because he just had that unwavering need for victory, and he would do things on the map that no other player would even consider necessary to win, but he would do it so often and so consistently that now, well, you know him for who he is, right? But where did that come from? Why did he feel the need to get that good at League of Legends? Because he is now. Where was it born from? Well, I can tell you, not for sure, because I never talked to him about it, but I can assume that it comes from that. And I'm guessing that in other sports it's the same thing, where a standard that was normally seen as unachievable or unlikely is now a consistent factor, and it's the beauty of the human race, in my opinion. Actually, especially in sports, if you look at the records people set nowadays, you compare them to 50 years ago, it's not even in the same dimension,
Mm.
because again, it's those people that saw those records and they're like, I have to beat that no matter what. I just have to.
I wanted to
Even the
ask.
records today, I'm sure some of these records will still be beaten over the next few years, and maybe not by the same margins as between now and 50 years ago.
Well, of
But
course, but everything speeds up, right? Like everything, like our 10 years now is practically equivalent to 100 years before the turn of the century, right? Like in terms of
sure, but there's
advancements.
also there's also a point of like, this is the literal limit of the human body, I guess. I'm not sure when we're going
No,
to
of
reach that,
course, of course, of
but
course.
my point is like, someone playing football 60 years ago probably doesn't reach the same amount of running speed as the best runners today.
No, that's also like a crazy argument as well. Like lots of people I have this argument with in terms of like football. Like I don't think people realize like how much better like someone that like a player that someone would consider like a bum like nowadays in football, like an average player in like the Premier League or
Mhm.
something, would just be like one of the world's best players if you drop them in like the 60s or 70s. There's a lot of
Mhm.
nostalgia. Like it's crazy. Like it's crazy to think about. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is because I spoke to Perks recently, and I was asking him because it's quite interesting, 6 years on, reflecting on World Finals and reflecting upon the fact that we haven't really been back as a region, and the West hasn't really been back either.
Yeah, makes sense.
I wanted to ask you in terms of that 2018. First of all, I wanted to ask you how often do you think about World Finals in 2018? Is it like a
Not too
bit?
much.
Not too much. Okay, fair enough. That's
That
interesting.
was really simple. I should have blinded Swain game one. I knew that they were going to pick Son and Torgot. I mean, like, it was the World Finals. Our argument was, no way, it's the Shy. He has ego. He literally got benched for not doing it. I'm like, yeah, that's why he's going to do it, because he got benched. Like, he got punished. He knows what's up. Like, he's not going to piss. Like, he's not going to piss away his chance at a World Championship because of his ego. Again, he did it once. He's not going to do it again. He learned this lesson. It's like, nah, I mean, we can't. We're just going to pick our God. It's what works for us. Okay, sure. I mean, again, rational way to view it. That was it. I just knew that game one we were going to get cooked if I didn't pick Swine. I just had a feeling. I knew it because that draft was unwinnable. I knew we were going to go Jin 4-5. It was set in stone. And again, that's not to blame anyone. Just like, at the end of the day, like, I picked Urgot lane against Sion and did my best, but I just knew that it wasn't going to be the winning edge. And I think that if I had blinded Swain and I had challenged him to my domain, if you will, then I could have created an advantage for my team. Because as much as people want to say that the Shy is, the second coming of Jesus Christ in League of Legends in 2018, which, I'm being a bit cheeky here, but a lot of people, like to say that. He was very good, but I did get to play like 50 scrims in a row against him because, well, we were on the opposite sides of the World Championship bracket and we both made it to the finals. So I can tell you with confidence that um, I was able to handle him even with champions like Swain Blind. There's a reason why when I walked on that stage, Victor got banned 1-2-3 every single game that Bwipo was in the champion select, and it wasn't because he was that much better than me that I could pick anything I wanted to win.
So that's what you would owe it down to, like in regards to because Perks
For
reflect.
myself, yeah. I mean,
Sure,
that's simple. That's
that's
what I'm saying. Like in 2018, I had no room, or the culture wasn't set in a way where I could jump in and make decisions for other people. I was responsible for my own thing. I was the rookie, and that's it. Like it must be very different for Perks because he was the leading figure in that team. Of course, he has a lot of things to
yeah.
reflect on.
I mean, he was talking about more so it just being a case that they overcooked, like, and that if they had someone external to just be like, you guys are overthinking this. He actually thinks they would have won that series 8 out of 10 times. Like, if you play that series like 10 times, they would have won it 8 times. It's just
Oh,
like,
I can completely relate to the notion because when you're lost in the sauce, you're lost in the sauce. Like that's just the way it is. That's how I describe it. It's the sauce. When you're lost in the sauce, it's very hard to get out of. It's the same for me. This World's 2025, I was lost in the sauce. I don't know what to tell you. Like this
talk to us
Renekton
about
game,
that
put me
because
in that
like,
Renekton game. 99 out of 100, I carry that one after I get that kill bot lane on the Jax. Like I'm quite a bit of a menace on the Crocodile, and I didn't carry that game because I was just lost in the sauce. My mind was focused on uh, how I can help my teammates and when the best timings for me to fight. And instead of just being like, do you guys want to fight? Yes or no? Oh, you don't? Well, that's fine because my lead is big enough that I can farm until 3 items and I will still be strong in the game. But the thing is Renekton as a champion needs to generate gold in order to reach that point, critical mass, if you will, where like oh, now I just scale because I have so much gold on everyone else that I can just farm everything. I don't have to actually play a fair game anymore. I don't have to fight you on my timings. I can just keep farming. And that's something that I'm normally very accurate in judging, and why I'm quite good at those kind of characters, because it's not just Renekton, there's Volibear, blah blah blah. Anyway, champion related rant over.
I don't think it's
That's
over.
being lost
I
in the
don't believe you.
sauce.
I don't believe you that it's over. It's
Well,
never
not for the entire interview, but for this moment. For this moment, I will take some space from it.
some space. It's
That's the
good. Is
sauce.
that the league term?
No, it's not actually. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, people like relating the term space to me and my brand because I like to click on people's heads. Um, yeah, like I said, I think League of Legends PvP related game. You tend to take squares when you put your character in a square. It's the same in
You
chess.
are
You
very
put
much
your.
the Jeff Buckley of League. It's never over with you. Never quite over. It's probably a reference that will go over your head, but someone out there will
I do not
appreciate.
know who that is.
Jeff Buckley, great musician. You should check him out. Good albums, good stuff. You're talking about world finals there, and you're talking about 2025 being lost in the source. I want to know more about what being lost in the source means, because I think it's probably a conversation that will lead us to some human places. In that, I think you have an unfortunate quality about yourself, which is you're so blunt, and in regards to talking about others and your own mistakes. So I think people might often feel as if you come across as not being self-reflective, and I actually think, in contrast, in speaking to you personally, you're someone that is quite harsh on yourself. And I wondered if you could comment on what being lost in the source means, because it strikes me that you're someone that can be quite mentally affected if there is tilt involved, and it kind of exists as a very dark cloud around you in your judgment, your ability to kind of think logically in the way that you're presenting yourself right now.
Well, lost in the sauce is like, for me, simply put, being lost in the sauce is basically, it's the act, or it's the occurrence of the outside stress and circumstances of stress clouding your judgment. It's that simple, isn't it? Your
Yeah.
judgment is clouded because the sauce in this term is you just have poor judgment because you are concerned about things and worried about things that you do not need to be worried about. Therefore, you lose your focus on what you do need to worry about, which is winning the game and killing their nexus at the end of the day as a professional player. So I think that when someone overcooks, it's because they're lost in the sauce. They forget, oh, I'm just supposed to kill this guy's nexus and everyone's happy. You start worrying about what happens when this and this and this and this, and then you keep going down that direction. And a very common way one perceives getting lost in the sauce is, well, I've scrimmed this matchup with my teammate 12 times, and 11 out of the 12 times he's gotten shit on. So when he locks in this champion, I feel an unnatural need to perform better than the average performance I can actually put on. Addy. And I know that was pretty mean to mention, but I have to, because I don't just say this, like, I have to mention it because, like, I had this conversation, and that's the thing. Like, this is why people think I'm a rather abrasive person. I am an abrasive person. It's not I literally had a conversation in front of my whole team. I sat there and I'm like, why in the fuck are we playing this Annie character? Can anyone help me understand? Because I don't think I've seen a singular game where I felt good, warm and fuzzy inside when this character was on my team in that year. And that's not because, like, I have a personal problem with one of my teammates playing a character or anything. Like, it's just reality, man. Like, it's the same thing the other way around. Like, imagine me. I'm a League of Legends player, and I locked in. You know what? If I have stats, I could probably find you a few picks. Give you an example, actually. Shen. Shen's a great example. Why am I using Shen as an example? If you go to my games.legends.gg, you click on all, you'll see I have a 30% win rate on Shen over 10 games. So the reality of the matter is like, the first thing I should ask is, like, if Shen is in the meta, why am I playing Shen? Because clearly it's not working, right? I don't win on this champion. For context, my average win rate is 61%. So I perform over 10 games, a 30% win rate, compared to over 500 games, 60% of the time I win. So just being honest with myself.
It's a pretty bad sample size in comparison. Not to be like a data guy. But...
Oh, I mean, no, it is. But then if you look at the sample size differences between all the other champions within the range of the amount of games I have on Shen, it's also pretty obvious that I perform worse on Shen.
Sure.
Right? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that when the sample size is small, you look at the other variables in order to come to a good conclusion.
Do you feel like
right?
you're
So
bad at
here,
Shen? Is it like is it a feeling you possess in yourself as well?
I think I must be. Yeah. Do
No,
I
but
think I'm bad at Shin? I think I'm okay at him. I think I'm okay at him. But that's what I'm saying. Like, me thinking I'm okay at him is probably why I lose on him, because I'm missing something that I'm doing wrong. Because I
But are
think that
you
what
not?
I'm
Are you
doing is
not? Are
good
you
enough
not?
to win.
Are you not just reverse engineering the feeling back from Quad that you're applying this stratum of data to yourself in order to make it so that it's not a feelings based argument for him. It's just a purely analytical one. We don't win on this champ, so therefore you are bad at it. Not it's a,
No, no, I never said. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not about you being bad at the champion or not. It's just the fact of the matter is we're not winning with it, right?
sure.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
That's
It
yeah.
has nothing to do. It's
That's
just
the
like
core central
when this
problem.
character is on my screen on my team, we don't win.
Okay.
It happens consistently. How that happens is a different topic entirely. You ask me, like, do I think I'm bad at Shen? It's a different topic entirely of what I'm trying to discuss, is what I'm saying. A lot of
Sure.
people will relate to two, and that's where I think a lot of the feelings get involved, where it's like, oh, so you think I'm bad at this champ? It's nothing to do with that.
Well, it's actually in many ways, and perhaps by my misunderstanding, we've reenacted a microcosm that might be useful for understanding where you're coming from. I suppose, is it difficult not to involve feelings then? Because
It is.
how much of conversation can actually be about? Well, how my question would be, how useful is it to enact upon a discovery of why that champion doesn't work for us, when it might be more useful in all instances to just use the data to close that line of argument and use time more efficiently in order to like discover other champions.
Well, because we still are fucking picking it, so someone needs to bring up the discussion, don't we? Like, if we
Sure.
stop picking it, I wouldn't bring it up. But if we're still locking it in, then that means that we still think it's our best chance to win, and this is the
Not my
kicker.
question. My question is more so
Oh,
like if you're going to obviously it's a different thing if you're still picking or whatever, but like at the point in which you would have the discussion of why are we picking this, or like why doesn't this work, is it not more efficient just purely go, well, this doesn't work based on this, let's not stop talking about this? Basically, like what I'm saying is the introspection doesn't necessarily, the introspection runs counterintuitive to the raw efficiency of just a limited time, right?
well, we're all humans, right? It's nice to, you know, if you've invested a certain amount of time in something, you'd like to know why you stopped doing it, I think.
True, that's fair enough.
I, I mean, that's why I have a discussion about it. It's not like I just like, oh, well, we're not doing this ever again. And then, I'm not the head coach, first things first. But even if I was, I wouldn't just like bat a champion without having a discussion with my player that's obviously spent time and effort to make it work. Right. So that would be my answer, is to respect the effort the player has put into making the character work.
Mm,
I would have the discussion in the sense of like, hey, like, I know, we've been trying to make it work, but it's just not, like the results just aren't there, and that's what we're here for. The reason why this is an important discussion to have, in my opinion, is, well, quite simply put, you only get so many games at the World Championship if you're going to go ahead and pick a character that you're quite literally not very good at, or like not going to, progress the game / carry the game for your team. To tie it back to the discussion we had, like, you need to be excellent at your character in order to provide a winning position for your team,
mm,
in my opinion. Right? Like, that's what I firmly believe in. I firmly believe you need to have that responsibility. And over the course of that event, in this case, it was Annie for quad, but it's the same for our bot lane, the same for me as well. Like, imagine I, as a player, I'm just locking in Jace and I'm just playing Jace for the sake of playing Jace. So I could have told everyone back home, hey, I played Jace at the World Championship. Look at me. I'm an Asian player. Woohoo. I'm so good. Like, the fuck is that, Like, why am I locking in Jace? Like, is it our best chance to win? Like, am I supposed to be locking in Jace here? Does it make sense to lock in Jace here? Like, these are all questions that need to be answered. And I think that, oh, well, everyone else does it, is the literal worst argument to have ever existed for this conversation. So what I'm trying to tell you is,
yes.
is the importance of this discussion boils down to, how many games did we play at the World Championship this year? World's 2025 main
Um,
event. Six, eight. I played 8 games. 8 games. Okay.
mm,
That's it. That's not very many games. Me and you can play 8 games from tonight until midnight right now. You know what I mean? Like, it happens quite quickly. 8 games can happen in about 6 hours.
yeah, absolutely.
It's not many games, is it?
No, of course not. I do get your point. My question would be to you, and I would like you to be as honest about this with me as you can. Is do you not think it's you can probably recognize how it's hard for some people to stomach the forwardness and abrasiveness that you are open about within when you're also making game defining errors, some would describe, right? That's maybe the
Sure.
difficulty that some people would have in you having this outward approach. How would you explain that to people? Because people can't really see it from your perspective, it feels.
Well, that's
And
because you're choosing to neglect the game-winning plays I make as well. Like I'm a double-edged sword, no doubt about that. Everyone knows that about me. Not just gameplay related, right? It turns out even outside of the game, I'm a bit of a double-edged sword.
yeah,
Um, Reality of the matter is that I win more than I lose, and I consistently set out results that people try to achieve. Am I the best player in the world? Absolutely not. Am I close
absolutely.
to them?
But that's you're somewhat skating around the fact of what your answer would be for the egregious errors. Are you
Oh, but I
saying
already explained what the
are you
answer is
saying
for the egregious
are you
errors.
saying they're part and parcel of the package?
No, I'm
Okay.
saying I'm saying that now that we've discussed what makes me tilt, because I went on in the entire
Yeah.
discussion
Okay.
about
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
I have this thing where if I don't understand what we're trying to achieve, I my judgment gets clouded and I make poor decisions. That's why it's there. And as much as people want to go ahead and tell me, oh, like, just work on that, just fix it, it's what makes me successful too. So it's not that simple. I can't just stop doing it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Interesting.
Like the reason why I'm successful domestically, right? And even internationally, because as much as people want to pretend like I'm not, I do possess some of the better results out of all Western players on an international stage, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty confident in that statement. I've seen four Worlds quarterfinals in 6 years. I've seen, um, a Worlds finals. Made some decent MSI runs. I saw a top four, I believe, and a top six. Again, nothing that you could boast about as the best in the world, and I'm not trying to. But the reality of the matter is that compared to the competition back home, it does appear that that's pretty good results wise. Am I wrong in making that assumption?
No, I wouldn't say you're wrong in making that assumption. I think that's probably fair. Yeah.
So it's hard for me to put myself in a position where it's like, well, this problem I have outweighs all the good I do. You know what I
Sure,
mean?
but I suppose I would want to understand more so when you say that this quality that you have is what enables your success. But could you explain to me how?
Because I push people on my team to do more in less stress situations as well. I don't just push people to do more when it's a stressful world situation. I do it back home as well. Like when we're playing LTA, I tell my teammates like this is not good enough. Like this is unacceptable. We need to play better. Like I don't understand what's going on. I don't know like why you're doing this. Like you're not piloting your champion in a way that's conducive to what your champion's trying to achieve. So let's talk about it. Let's work it through. Very good way for me to describe this is I believe a team project can be a little bit more easily understood as an analogy I like to use is it's like an amount of weight you're trying to pull. It's 100 kilos. And ideally, if you're in a team setting, all individuals will pull 20 kilos each, right?
Hmm.
I don't believe in that.
Okay.
I believe that that's an ideal, and I believe it would be great if the world works that way, but it just doesn't. Some people are going to be able to pull 40, others are going to be able to pull 60, some are going to not be able to pull anything at all. And the funny thing is that changes over the course of time. I'm the kind of guy where I play a league game and I just pulled 60 kilos away. I'll celebrate with my teammates. Holy shit, I'm really good. I pulled 60 kilos. I was absolutely owning there. But I'm also the kind of guy that's going to go sit on the weight, make it 50 kilos heavier, and tell my teammates, well, actually 85 because I'm 85 kilos. So a bit of a large man. And now it's 185 kilos to pull. I'm not even pulling shit, and I'll be like, hey, yeah, maybe I did sit on it, but me and you both know you could have pulled 40 and you only pulled 20. So even though you wouldn't have been able to win the game and actually pull the whole 185 because I just fucked up, right? You still had more in the tank. And that I can't have. Is it true that I lose some games? Absolutely. But at the same time, because I humanize myself in a way where it's like, yeah, sometimes I'm going to fuck up and make a bad decision and that's going to cost us the game. Sometimes that's going to be really ugly and you're going to think like, holy shit, this guy's like completely griefing the game and he's just like solo losing the game. But sometimes a game losing mistake can be a very small thing. It can be, oh, I failed my flash there. I'll give you an example against D plus Kia. Um, I made a game losing mistake. That was me not apprehending Vi's Q and Rel's combo. I remember this very clearly. It was 2024 Worlds Group Stage, playing against Damon Kia. My level 6 Amumu was coming, and we would have killed everyone if I baited them. And I decided that I would rather bait them and challenge myself to that mechanical interaction. But unfortunately, I didn't react to Vi's Q from the bush, and I didn't flush it, and I didn't eat it. So what ended up happening is I got CC chained and died instead of baiting like a really good situation for my team. And the point is like, was it necessary for me to make that decision? That I have to enter that position where I'm like forcing them to dive me and baiting them and then creating a good situation? No, I could have just not made a play at all and just sat behind my tower. And then when my Amumu and support show up, I can just re-enter the tower and there'll be no problems. But there would also be no wins. And as someone that, like I said, have always expressed myself by playing this game. This is how I've done it. I take pride in the way I play the game, and that pride is my undoing.
Do you think you extend more grace to yourself than you do to your teammates?
Absolutely the opposite.
Explain that, because I think what a lot of people are hearing when they hear you talk sometimes is that potentially there's more understanding. I mean, innately, there's going to be more understanding of your own actions rather in regards to others because you understand yourself more than other people, right? But explain to me why you think that's the opposite.
Because I don't put myself in position like I don't expect my teammates to go above and beyond. Like I just tell them what they can do. I don't expect them to push themselves that hard if they don't want to.
We talked about impossible expectations and also existing extremes. Do you think you hold yourself to like almost I guess what kind of unhealthy expectations do you hold of yourself? I wondered if you could comment on that because it
Yeah.
sounds like you put a lot of weight on your own personal performance.
Well, so I think what made me successful in my career is the fact that I pick very strong scaling champions in very difficult matchups to navigate, and I navigate them very consistently. If you look at my most played champions, it's true for almost most of the ones I play. Now, they don't have to be super scaling champions. The main thing is that they're quite weak in the first few rounds of the early game. So, like for example, Renekton is only strong after level 6. In the first 5 levels, he's actually a rather weak laner, believe it or not. Gangplank, Aatrox, Ornn, Sion, Urgot, Gragas, Cassante, like Olaf. Like Olaf's an exception, I think, a little bit. But my point is like there's exceptions, of course. But like I named you how many champs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 champions that are all champions that are actually weak in the first round and they're weak in the second round if you have struggled in the first round, right? So that's the thing. Um, I've always picked these champions because they have great upside in mid and late game. So I've always burdened myself to play these characters in blind pick situations that other players wouldn't agree to play them. This is why I think I don't expect like put that much pressure on my other teammates because I am the guy that usually bites the bullet in the draft for them, and I'm
Sure.
happy doing it because this is how I perform, and I give them the leeway to play comfortable matchups that will have uh, basically value, even in rather easy situations to navigate.
Are you kind to yourself though? Do you think in regards to? I wondered. It's quite a personal question, but I would like to hear about it. Like, it seems like to me, with such a thought out process in regards to how you respond to improvement, criticism, feedback, all of this kind of stuff in regards to like how you might influence the decisions of the team. Are you someone who's unkind to himself in that process? Like in regards to in
No,
regards to making mistakes.
I'm kind to myself because I don't dwell on it. I'm not going to bully myself for doing poorly. I'm just
Yeah.
going to accept that that was the best I could put on the table, and I'm going to go sleep on it. And then the next day, I'll see if I can do better or not. And if I can, I'll communicate that. And if I can, time to lock in and start doing it. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's a process, and to me, like to make someone like to put yourself in a position where you're, you know, rationally thinking about what a team is and what improvement looks like in a team, etc., etc. Like it's almost impossible because it's a case by case thing. It just depends on the people you're working with and how you're working with those people. Like I genuinely believe that the reason why what my strategy works is because I'm very kind to my teammates and I tell them like, hey, this is what I expect from you. I need you to tell me whether you can or can't. And when someone tells me they cannot, I find a solution for them and myself that we're both satisfied with, and this is where my kindness lies. This is something that, I mean, I didn't realize I didn't mention this, but like if someone tells me like, hey, I want to play this champion either way, it's not like I'm going to be like, hey, fuck you, like this is retarded. You know what I mean? Like start using like vulgar language and like cuss them out and be like, well, I'm not playing then or whatever. It's like, all right,
Hmm.
you insist we're playing Annie, let's play Annie then. What do you need from me? This is where Rumble came in. Funnily enough, I agreed to play a champion. I really didn't want to play this World Championship because the reality of the matter is that having an extremely powerful and somewhat overpowering mid game is necessary for Annie to find success in the game. So I will play a Rumble. Did I perform it to the level that I would have liked? Absolutely not. Again, dildo. It's because I believed in the process. I believed in my teammates, and I believed that everyone was like, "Yeah, it's good here. Let's just do it." All right, I'll do my best. But my point is, putting myself in that situation is my kindness. It's a part of being a teammate. It's a part of being a human. It's about finding what other people feel comfortable with and helping them in that. And I think I do a very good job of that. And I think that's why ultimately my systems work. And I'd say most people that have played with me do not have a problem with playing me again or playing with me again. Um, this is the feeling I get.
Interesting. So, I mean, like, that strikes me as the thing that perhaps, like, I don't know how to say this whilst being polite. I get the impression from the FlyQuest documentary that a lot of you wouldn't want to play with each other, at least in the near future. Perhaps that would be the case in in the distant future. But it seemed like there was a lot of tension in that roster, especially towards the end. And I guess maybe I would want to hear from your perspective more of an understanding of that, because it seemed like you guys had the real honeymoon. Like you guys were like the team that loved each other. I remember when Demonte was there was a lot of content around that. You guys got on really well. You took Genji to 5 games. In comparison to this year with the documentary that I saw, it seemed like everything kind of changed in the space of a year. What was your perspective on that?
I think the Monte carried the culture of the team
Really, because
to
this
a
is actually an
position.
angle that I have that I felt like he was a real culture carrier, and I feel like I've not really been able to get that from anyone. But you would agree with that?
Really? That's crazy. What really? Like that's what you hire him for, bro.
I sort of insinuated with inspired, and I didn't really get like a strong response. But then again, I don't think inspired is really someone who strongly responds to anything.
Could be the case. I'm not sure to be honest with you. I think he strongly responds to getting inted, so I can promise you that much.
Yeah, but
Um,
that's like hitting a paraplegic in the knees. You know, like he's gonna feel something eventually that just via the sound waves.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I respect that. No, what I'm trying to say is, I don't disagree with you. Actually, coming in, I'm just gonna say it like straight up, because gotta have something that you can draw people from for this interview in it. During Worlds, I was like, I don't think I can work with Inspired again. I don't think I have it in me. Like, that's it for me. Like I don't think I can play with this guy again because the reality of the matter is that our culture, our way we perceive the game, and the way we perceive culture in a team are oil and water. I can't like I can't. I'm someone I will die on the hill that my teammates choose to die on. You know what I mean? He's the opposite. He chooses the hill anyone dies on, and if he can't have the choice, then it appears to me that he's all right with losing. Um, Again, maybe that's just my feeling, but his way or the highway is the best way I can describe the personality he is. And I'm the opposite. I will find you a way where you can be yourself and you can be the player you want to be. And I will do everything I can to see you there. And I think that's why I've been successful because a lot of talented players over the years that work that way, that need people to meet them halfway, um, just never had anyone that was willing to do that for them. And when I did choose to meet them and fully commit into lean into their strategy, their culture, well, it's not really culture, it's more like their strategy, then we created a culture where it's about helping each other be the best versions of ourselves and accepting that that's the player you're going to get. And I think that for him, I'd say, from my experience, he wants to create a culture where people are responsible for their own game and their own decisions, which is correct. And I believe in that fully. But I think that he doesn't accept when someone can't do that. He will hit his head on that wall until it cracks his skull open or his teammates. And then when the result is not there and the game cannot be played in that way, in that vision, it's over. You just lose. And for me, there is a point in time where I will accept if I don't think we can win because our strategy just isn't perfected enough, it isn't good enough, we're not going to be able to compete with that team, then I'm okay with losing. But at least I want to make sure that the people on my team had a good time doing it. At least
Interesting.
I want to put something on the table that everyone can enjoy.
How is his lack of flexibility, if you were to describe it, how is his lack of flexibility different to your potential perceived lack of flexibility in regards to ideals that you hold? Like we talked about with the chess analogy, right? Like key moves and concepts in the game that need to be constantly, rigorously measured and accurate. How is that
I
different?
think that it's ironically it's his flexibility that makes him inflexible. It's the fact that he can
That's
just
an
pick
interesting
any
take.
champion in any draft and he can play and perform in that draft and have like a very subjective opinion of what needs to happen in that draft. Like I told you, right? I'm someone that I have my weaknesses and one of them is that like for me when I have a clear vision of what the game looks like, I am extremely good in a structured setting where I can create chaos, but I want that structured setting. What I'm trying to say is he can create that kind of structure and vision during the game and in game from any given draft based on the 10 champions that are in that game. And I think that's a skill that is really hard to like it's a very impressive skill first and foremost. Like it's really fucking hard to be that good at the game. I think everyone can agree on that. And then secondly, um, I think that that kind of structure and vision is something that, in my opinion, is only really feasible consistently for a jungler or a support. Support, I'm not sure, but for a jungler, certainly. I speak from experience when I jungled. It was a lot easier for me to be very subjective about the game and what's happening in it because 60% of my game I'm fighting mobs. That's the funny thing. If I'm playing League of Legends, right, and I'm playing in a silver League of Legends game, I'm playing jungle, the difficulty of me fighting my mobs is the same as I'm playing a professional game against the best team in the world. Isn't that crazy? If I want to get tempo as a top laner, right, I have to beat someone in lane. Like I have to lane against an opponent and I have to fucking shit on the guy to get tempo on him, right? I actually have to beat him in lane. So if
Hmm.
I want to get tempo to make a play myself, right, I want to be able to make a play. My 15-second rule, I got on the way first, I beat the guy. I have to defeat, Doran in lane, Khan, like we're back in the day. My point is Zeus, Keen, like I have to beat these guys in lane. To get tempo in jungle, you gotta kill the fucking Razor Beaks. And while you're killing the razor beaks, your brain activity is about, how do I even describe this? Not much going on, is there? It's the fucking razor beaks. You know what I mean? For anyone that doesn't know what the razor beaks are, they are the raptors. You're killing the golems. You're killing, Mr. Krugs. You're killing. It's really easy. You have so much downtime. You're not laning against the guy that's fishing for every single CS you're trying to hit and poking you while you're doing it. You're killing jungle monsters, man. It's fucking easy. It is unironically easy to kill those mobs, right?
Of course, but in terms of relevance and why you're bringing this up, what is your point centrally? You're saying that Inspired is complaining
My
about too
point
much.
centrally is that um, being flexible as a jungler is far easier because you have way more time to weigh your role in the game and what you need to be able to do and like what the best way to
And
win
you
is.
think, and without putting words in your mouth, correct me if I'm putting words in your mouth. And you think that perhaps that ease of information and downtime should perhaps beget more understanding and empathy.
Correct.
Okay, fair enough. I think I follow you somewhat.
That's what I think, and I think he has very little of it for people that misplay and play poorly in their lanes. Uh, well, actually, that's the thing. I think when people play poorly in their lanes, he's actually quite lenient. But when people play the mid game poorly, and that's what I'm saying, it's like the stress of playing your lane poorly is obviously going to weigh into your mid game. Like if you lane poorly, it's harder for you to focus and have a like it's harder for you to have a good performance when you've gotten shit on in lane because you're a human being. You feel bad about the fact that you got shot on in lane. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like I don't know if you're a laner. I don't know if anyone listening has had this experience, but like if you've ever played a league game and you got fucking demolished and you're down 30 CS and you're just like, what the fuck is going on, right? It's really hard to come into mid game with a super clear idea of what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
The opposite is true too. If you're someone that got a jungle gank and you got ahead and you threw your lead, it's pretty normal for you to be like, oh man, like I threw, that feels terrible, like oh man, like I lost my chance to carry or like I lost my chance to drive the game. And what I'm trying to say is I think that kind of emotional intelligence is really important for someone playing either support or jungle, and like reassuring your laners that it's chill is a skill that I value very highly,
But
and it's something that is in my culture and the way I perceive being on a team. Giving leeway to people in that sense is really important to me, and it's why like as much as I'm very harsh on people in the sense of like I expect you to do a lot, like I'm the first person to say it's all good, and I'm the first person to say my bad.
I wanted to ask you because you talked about in regards to being like the cerebral thinker and viewing the game in these kind of counter-attacking options and presenting options and making people respond to these. That I would assume that you and Inspired found a lot of common ground in regards to that, because I would assume that he views things different, views things similarly in that way.
Of
Would
course.
that so where does the breakdown come in terms of? I suppose you've explained it in some capacity, but is that not when you have that ability to see things in a similar way, and that you must be amongst only a small handful of players. I suppose it must motivate you to fix things, which I suppose in some ways adds even more credence to the fact that it broke down in this way. It must be really serious, because surely in some capacity you must feel as if, wow, I don't know how many more players there are out there that like kind of can see things this way. Or is that not
I
something
mean,
you massively care about?
it's like for me, finding joy in playing is why I do it. Money's great. I'm not going to pretend like it's not. Obviously, it's a great financial decision to continue playing if I can, especially if I get a good offer. Like let's get that out of the way first. But the reality of the matter of why I don't stream instead, which would be more lucrative, believe it or not, right? Um, is because I love the game. I love competing, and I want to be able to go on that stage and have a good time. And going on stage and having a good time is my first priority. It's my selfish desire to do that. It's what I love about the game. I adore going on stage and getting to play my stage game and having fun playing the characters that I love playing and expressing myself in that way. And then priority number two is making sure that the people on my team get to do the same, right? And then priority number three is winning, because the winning part is not actually a selfish desire on my end. It's my way of giving back to the people that support me. Because the reality of the matter is if you're a professional player, you get paid because people watch you, right? People listening to this interview, the people that uh, watch the stage games, the people that follow the esport, whatever. Like, these are the people that pay the bills. And it turns out that following players that win is more fun than following players that lose. Sharing those moments, those victories, and sharing a sense of achievement of like, hey, I supported this player. Like, this is the guy I chose to support, and I get to share wins with him because I saw his journey from someone that was just there to play. Like, he just came into the league, and now he's there to win. That journey and kind of rewarding the people that support me with putting victories on the table and sharing that feel good moment with all my fans is why I pursue a win. But it's third on the list. So
I I do
that's
agree. I
why.
do agree with what you just said, but I don't really see how it answers my question.
Well, like I told you, he doesn't create a culture where I can have fun. So I don't want to. I'm sorry, I just don't have fun. Like, it's just not fun. Like,
Okay, and fun is very
I had
important to you.
no
I remember that's
fun.
something that we talked about in the first interview we ever did.
Joy
The
is
importance of fun.
paramount. Yeah, joy is paramount in my opinion to make it far. Bro, Faker, I don't know. This is what people you remember. You'll remember this. Everyone will remember as soon as I bring it up. They were like losing game 4, I believe, to KT, and Faker was giggling or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At some point, you've got to ask yourself, like, if that guy can be having fun then, and he's the greatest player of all time, there must be a reason why he's having fun. There's a reason why he's not a sour grape, just sitting there hating his life, wanting to, whatever. Because let's be real, that guy can retire 17 times over, and I'm sure he'll be all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think
why
it'll
is
be
he
fine.
like? Why is he having fun doing it? Like, it's not just because it's fun. I'm sure from a performance-based point of view, fun is really important. I know that for a fact. G2 2019, they had a blast. Fnatic 2018, we had a blast. I haven't seen Western teams have a blast since then quite as often, in my opinion.
Well, you guys are having a blast in 2024, no?
Shocking that we had a performance that was worth mentioning, right?
You weren't having a
Crazy.
blast?
I think so, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I had a
Okay.
great time. I think this year we started having a bad time because it was all about performing better than last year. It was all about growing from last year. It was better, and there was no discussions about like, hey, let's just, like, let's just play our
Made
game
a
and
good
have a good time,
documentary.
because that was the
Made a good
mindset.
documentary out of it though.
Glad you enjoyed it. I don't know what to tell you. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, sure. I mean, just like I said, like for me, that's why the Monte was a big deal, because that's what the guy was like really good at. He made sure everyone was having a good time, and we're all there with the same, for. That's what I'm saying is like we were all there to win, yes, but more importantly, we're all there to have a good time and share great fucking memories.
Would this breakdown in team spirit and atmosphere have happened if Monte had stayed on? You think? Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but
I'm not sure. I mean, keep in mind, like because we went to Brazil, like there was the whole thing where he had winter in Brazil, and because we had winter in Brazil, he couldn't be there, and then because he couldn't be there, like people undervalued what he actually did for the team, and because people undervalued what he did for the team, there was an environment where,
yeah.
well, if you're undervalued, you don't really want to stick around and do things there, do you?
Yeah,
So
and
you
then
know what I mean?
you've also got to deal with people like Basil Leaf, like tweeting about the draft. It's just like you're in the room with us, you're on your phone, you have to come back after the game, you lose. She's tweeting about the draft. It's just like do your job, like
Sure. No,
yeah.
I mean that's what, like I'll tell you one thing, and
Agree.
I genuinely feel this. I think the people outside of the team, in FlyQuest, so I'm thinking like the content people. I'm thinking, uh, like Basil, Kyler, Talon, just our manager. I guess he is a part of the team, but still, I want to give him a shout out. Some of the nicest people I've met in my life, and genuinely, made the
Oh,
atmosphere
that's
better
nice.
every chance they got. So, like, big shout out. Um, it's important. It really matters. I think that having a culture where people, in general, I think FlyQuest is comprised of an organization of people where I genuinely can say with confidence that every single person in that organization has good intentions. And I think they vet you for that as well. Um, don't get me wrong. I think Inspired has great intentions too. I just think that ultimately, from a culture setting and the perspective I have a really hard time surviving and enjoying myself in an environment where uh, mistakes are a problem. And I think that that was our biggest problem in our culture, where like if you made a mistake and the game was difficult to play from that position, we would not be trying to win. You would get punished, and you would get inted, and you would, like, you know what I mean? Not inted necessarily, but like there would no longer be the same kind of intensity to kill the enemy nexus anymore. And when that happens, you do create an environment where people just don't really feel like trying their best every single game, because like if once one guy stops trying their best as soon as the game starts going south, everyone else is going to do the same, and you're just going to create the cycle where the focus of killing the enemy nexus, that wasn't the focus anymore. Once a mistake was made, that was what the focus was, the mistake and how to fix it, and that's it. And that's just such a
Sure.
sad way to play this game, really, in my opinion.
I wondered if you could tell me from your opinion, because you're someone that kind of the world took a chance on you. Well, you took the chance yourself, rather, would probably be a better way of putting it. When you came up, you worked your way into it, and you had as an understudy this year a player who is now going to be taking his step up into the world, Gakgos.
Hmm.
How good is he from your evaluation? How far can he go? I wondered if you could give us an idea of that, because he's a player that people have talked about, but he's still a relatively undiscovered quantity. So I wondered if you could comment on that.
If he's able to, well, let me put it this way: if he has to be the reason, like, I mean, all right, baseline player, top two in the league. I think Thanatos is his only real competition, from what I can tell. I don't know all the top laners from the top of my head, but basically last split he was the only player that I would say that would compete with him in terms of performance. Would be Thanatos. Yeah, basically. Trying to think who are the fucking top laners anyway. Like I don't know, it was Dhokla. Who else is there? Who's even this player? I don't even
Impact.
fucking know, honestly. I mean, that guy was that he did not have a very good split, so can't really bring that guy up, can I? Yeah, I don't know, but basically this year's performance, because again he got to play one game a day and he got to focus on his own performance, and that's what I'm trying to say. If the only thing you have to focus on is your own performance, and you can just lock in, and the rest of your team is going to be a well-oiled machine where you just need to worry about having a high CS number, showing up as a strong champion with items, and then kill people, it is very easy to perform as a top laner. I'm not going to I'm not going to bullshit anyone. It is the easiest thing to do as a top laner. Now, it might not be the easiest role, but it is if that's your task, is to pick a champion like Ambessa, farm equal, show up with items, and then perform in a team fight. It's very, very easy to perform. What's difficult as a top laner is finding ways to influence the game. Because you have to, because your teammates aren't just winning. So obviously my perspective on him is very simple. In our team, he was top 2 because he didn't have to do anything. He just had to pick his little Jax, his little Ambessa, his little Aurelia, and go 11 CS per minute, and then click on the enemy laner and win. And funnily enough, this is what I drilled into him, it's like, this is the baseline. This is what you have to be really good at, and then you can branch out to other things. And it's what did me in at Worlds 2025, which is really poetic if you think about it, because if I had played Renekton in that way and I did farm my 12 CS per minute and rolled up with my 2.5, 3 items at Atakan, we probably would have won that game. In fact, I'd say we would have, right? So it is kind of poetic in that sense, that my teachings are what I lacked in the very end. But that's where the kicker comes.
That's how they got Darth Vader.
I haven't seen. What? Sorry.
That's how they got Darth Vader.
Really? I'm going to need a little bit more context on this one.
You haven't watched Star Wars?
I have watched Star Wars, but didn't he just choose to?
Well, it was a prophecy, He
was a prophecy?
He was destined to restore balance of the Force,
Yeah, and he ended up doing that, didn't he?
Yeah, of course. But you push and pull waves. You understand about that. Force.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm just saying that Darth Vader didn't get got. He didn't
No, he did.
Unlearn a learning or whatever. He chose to just not absolutely own his own son.
I mean, if we're being honest, he got cancelled. He did a lot of bad things, Darth Vader. They cancelled him.
I mean, they tried to, and that's what I'm saying. I think he was a bit too powerful at that point.
In many ways, Darth Vader probably proved that cancel culture doesn't exist. He got away with a lot of things.
Yeah, because he was too OP. That is true. He did get away with it. I'm not sure where we're going with this, but yeah, he was owning. Darth Vader was, in fact, Darth Vader. I don't know what to tell you.
Darth Vader's the goat. I fucking love Darth Vader too.
I think everyone loves Darth Vader. I think, unironically, he's probably one of the most iconic villains of all time.
Sorry, I don't know. I just fucking love Darth Vader so much. I don't know what this tangent was.
I don't know, mate.
I fucking love that film so much.
That's all right, mate. I actually quite love Star Wars as well. Obi-Wan's my favorite character.
Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who my favorite character is. Probably Yoda.
Fair enough.
Yoda's up there for me, for sure. I'm actually getting emotional thinking about Star Wars. I don't know what's going on.
That's okay, man. Take your time.
I'm actually getting emotional. Okay, just for context, I haven't really slept much. I'm just getting delirious now. Oh my god, what were we talking about? Sorry, Gakgos. How good can he be? In terms of what his full potential is, Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I think if your responsibility is just to shut the fuck up, farm your creeps, and get carried, by you know what I mean? You get carried to a certain point where you can carry. That's what I'm trying to describe to here. You farm to a certain point where you get items, and your champion kind of just mechanics are the only thing that matters because your champion is just OP. Because fun fact, top laners are overpowered characters. They're some of the most broken characters in the game. They always have been, and that's because they have to be, because they don't get any agency. So to make the role feel good, when you get items and you get to roll up in mid game, you annihilate things. They've always worked that way. Actually, it's how they've balanced top lane over the years. Many, I mean, not every year, but many years of League of Legends, this has been a consistent factor, at least in Season 8 when I was playing professionally. Gangplank, nothing balanced about this character, you know what I mean? Sion, nothing balanced about this character. It just doesn't make sense if you look at what these characters can do. In a vacuum, it's what the fuck? How is this even legal, wow, that's OP as fuck. It's just the way it is. A champion like Cho'Gath, you count the amount of CC that character can put out. It's just, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One character being able to do this, the amount of damage and health a champion like Renekton and Aatrox can kind of generate from just existing in a team fight is also ridiculous if you compare it to other roles. Just the way it is. So what I'm trying to say is as a result, being really good individually with your resources and putting yourself in positions where you can farm a lot.
If you were
abuse these characters, that is a large part of being a skilled top laner. But when you have to actually interact with the game and have good tempo to get grubs and have, agency in the game, and you need to create that by beating your opponent, and then after beating your opponent, make a good decision with your tempo, right? Because that's the hard part about top lane is the 15-second rule is more like a 45-second rule, because you push a wave in 15 seconds and then you commit 45 seconds to a play if you want to make one. This is the problem with top lane. Is why it's a difficult role to have influence or agency on, because your move takes a lot longer than the average move, because your lane is so far removed from everyone else's. Just to give you a little bit of context why I think in our team, in our scrims, in the environment he was in, he was top 2, but he could very easily fall down, because when he's making those decisions and investing that tempo to make a play, the accuracy of your decisions needs to improve significantly. And obviously he's going to be playing on a rookie team. There is some concern for me that he's not going to be that accurate with those decisions. I hope he will be. I think he's a fantastic lad, and honestly, he was the favorite part of summer for me. I really enjoyed my summer, actually, thanks to him. So I wanted to, give a shout out to him as well. Me
Absolutely.
and him, we were basically, joined at the hip for most of the summer, where we're just, we were hitting the gym together, practicing together, like everything basically we did. We were together for most of the days, and I really enjoyed that.
If you were on the Death Star, do you think you could blow up Alderaan? Like, if you were in that position, like, would you be able to do that?
Alderaan. Is this from one of the newer series? Because I'm not
No,
sure.
this is the old
I
one.
didn't follow that.
So, like, when they're on the
Alderaan
Death Star,
was.
they blew up planets, right? Like on the Death Star. Could you like,
Yeah, they did that.
if you were like part of the Empire, could you like see yourself doing that?
Could I annihilate an entire planet of people?
Because that's the thing, right? Like, everyone wants to say they wouldn't, but like, maybe you like lived on the Death Star, like. Maybe you're like part of
If
the
if
Empire,
fucking
like
Darth Vader was breathing over my neck with
yeah,
my finger
literally,
on the
right?
button, yeah, fucking course I'd press it, man. I don't want to get
In
fucking
many ways,
force choked and get one shot.
the biggest fear about being in the room with Darth Vader is what if he chokes you and you like it?
Oh man, like just be quiet.
Like that's
Just be quiet.
What do you think about BrokenBlade as a player? Because you played against him at Worlds, he kind of stopped you in your tracks a little bit. But what do you think about him as a player?
BrokenBlade?
Yeah, you know who that
Okay, not much
is.
of an opinion.
What
I
did
mean,
you what
not
did you
much of an
say that like you
opinion.
don't know who he is? You know who he is.
I just reiterated. I got a message on Discord. So I read the message real quick and got distracted.
No
It wasn't
worries,
like
no
I
worries.
know who he is. I don't have really an opinion on him. I haven't played against him enough in order to
Yeah.
create like a real opinion. Seems like a player that is pretty good at the game, and yeah, that's where I'll leave it. I don't know what to tell you. Do you want to know if I think that he's better than me or I'm better than him? I can answer that question for you if you want.
I mean, I feel like that's baiting, like a little bit. I think it's disingenuous. If you feel like you weren't able to evaluate his skill level because you didn't play against him that much, then that wouldn't be based on a tangible, and I wouldn't feel comfortable putting you in that position.
Based on the games that I've played against him, I think I'm a stronger top laner than he is.
Interesting. Would you say you're the strongest Western top laner then? Because people would probably consider him as in that conversation.
I would consider myself to be the strongest individual player in the Western Hemisphere, yes. In the top lane.
In the
Not
top,
the strongest
okay,
player in
okay.
general.
I was
Sorry.
gonna say
Yeah, no, my bad. I do think Inspired, Caps, and maybe there's one or two more. Not sure. But I think Inspired and Caps are ahead of me without a doubt. And then obviously, if you're going to bring all timers in it, I think there's a list of players you can put in ahead of me. To be honest with you, I'll tell you a fun fact here. I would have loved to be able to do this, but I would have been able to love to play against in the LEC this split, so I could play against Wunder and I could get a little bit of revenge. Because I will tell you something, it's a lot easier to play top lane when Caps is on your team, and getting judged for my 1v1 performance against top laner plus Caps compared to, you know what I mean, like never getting really a chance to play against someone that is top laner minus Caps, and then like getting told that like that guy's better than me and whatever, like for my whole career, pissed me the fuck off, mate. And trust me, I know the top laner plus Caps is a lot easier to play because I was there. I was 2018, and I'm not taking credit for anyone I beat in 2018 because like it was easy for me. You know what I mean? Like on a silver platter, all I had to do was farm my creeps, no pressure the whole game, nothing going on in my head other than let's just farm my creeps. It's easy, and that's something that a lot of people underestimate about playing with a player that will get shit done. Everyone else feels way less pressure to perform because you know that guy's going to show up and do it for you. Just the way it is. Inspired's one of those players. Cap's one of those players. I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm one of those players too. But hey, you know, if I'm not allowed to say it, then I'm not allowed to say it. That's fine. You can flame me. I don't mind. But I am. I really am. I'm someone that will get shit done. Um, and you know, there's obviously a longer list of players like that, but that's just the reality of it is. I mean, insert favorite player comment here, but I think it's one of the reasons why 2018 2019 U was really good because all 10 players on those teams got shit done. You know, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to take away the fact that Wonder is a good player. He's a fucking great player. But like I said, felt a bit bad to be judged against him only in the era when he was playing with Caps. You know what I mean? Like, just felt a bit unfair in it. You could say that's flaming my own teammates or whatever, and I understand that. But the reality of the matter is that every player has their strengths. Like for example, I think Nemesis was stronger than Caps in 2019 summer finals, and I think that we lost that series because of mistakes we made. I think he performed really well. I think Nemesis is a fantastic player to this day. He's, in my opinion, one of the best mid laners I've ever played with. Probably second best if I had to put a ranking down on it. But that's the reality of these matters, you know. Um, People think that praising someone and saying that they're really good is putting down someone else, and that's just not what I'm doing. Like saying Caps is the best mid laner I've ever played with, and Nemesis is the second best mid laner I've ever played with doesn't put down my other teammates. Not in my opinion, anyway.
Mm.
That just means that they were that much more exceptional, you know. And I think that speaks to how hard they worked, and that set them aside from my perspective because I know every single mid laner I've worked with worked really hard.
Cool. I wanted to. Where do I want to go from there?
Every single player I've worked with, actually, as a matter of fact. I'm going to go ahead and correct that. But that's what I'm saying. Like, praising a player doesn't mean you're putting down someone else. It just means that, hey, this guy really stood out as someone that was exceptional, you know? Like, the same way with DeMonte, right? And the thing is like, people, like, they're just like, oh, great, DeMonte's great, right? He gets a lot of praise. But, like, well, that doesn't mean you're putting down all the other performance coaches you've had in the past. It just means that DeMonte stood out enough to make you want to mention that.
Absolutely. You've completely derailed me from my train of thought, like just because you possess such an innate ability to talk. I've been completely knocked out of rhythm and circadian.
Sorry about that, mate. I think you've also done yourself in with the whole crying about Darth Vader thing, so
Yeah, no,
not going to take full responsibility on this one, but
that really took
I mean,
me
I agree with you.
that
You
really
know what
took
I
me
mean?
off.
Like,
That really took me off kilter there. To be honest with you, I just think it's such an under discussed topic. To be honest with you, the more nuances
it
of
really isn't. It really isn't.
you don't think
Let's be
so.
real. Like, everyone loves Darth Vader, bro. Like, he's goated character, and that's not a secret.
Would you are you more of a Sith or a Jedi? You think?
Sure. I'm actually not familiar with what makes one or the other. I'd say I'm very much in between.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Did you watch
I'm
Harry?
someone.
Did you watch Harry Potter? Or not really?
I watched it, but like,
What house
I'm
would you?
not familiar.
What house would you?
I
Would
mean,
you
yeah,
more
that's
of
what I'm
a?
saying. I'm not really familiar with what houses represent what. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not
I
really
think you're
familiar
a.
with that.
I think you're a Ravenclaw. I would say you're a Ravenclaw if I was the Sorting Hat.
No idea, mate. Like I said, I don't know what all the houses represent, so not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair
I
enough.
have to take your word for it. I'm not sure what they represent, so I can't really align with anything. Same kind of for Sith and Jedi. Do you know what I mean? Like, one thing I'll say is this: I firmly believe that in life, bad has to exist for good to exist too. Because if there was no bad, then you had nothing to compare the good
That's a
to, and
very
good would
Jedi. That's
become
a
the
very
norm.
Sith. That's a very Sith way of looking at things.
Yeah, maybe I'm more aligned with that. I'm just saying, like, it's just the way it is. Like, without darkness, there's no light. You know what I mean?
That's very Sith.
Just the way it is.
I think Darth Plagueis the Wise might have said something similar to that actually
Entirely
back in the
possible. I'm
day.
not sure. I just think it's common sense, really. The good times are there because, like, the good time, you know what a good time is because you've experienced a bad time.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. That's very very true.
Do you know what I mean? Like, let me like double down on this one real quick here. It's like,
Sure.
if you're privileged, right? You don't know what life is like until you experience what losing that privilege is. You don't know what that privilege is until you've like lost it and experienced that for yourself. I
Hmm.
mean, not ne- I think that's a bit extreme. I think you can have an idea, but like what it really feels like to not have privilege is only possible when you've experienced what it's like to lose your privilege.
Sure. I'm not sure I'm
And that's
quite
what I'm
following.
saying. Like,
I'm not sure I'm quite following.
oh, what I'm trying to say is basically that uh, privilege can only exist because some people are not privileged.
That's
Because if
true.
everyone had
Yeah.
an equal starting point, right? If everyone had an equal spawn point, if you will, in life, then no one would
That's
be
pretty
privileged.
woke. Oh, that's good. I
Just
like
the way
that.
it is, you know.
Yeah, that's good.
Just the way it is. And that's what I mean with like there's no light without darkness.
Interesting. So would you say that that's quite like a yin yang perspective? Do you so to take it more seriously and to bring myself back to a period of normalcy? Would you say that you're quite capable of accepting all the bad that comes with your good,
Absolutely.
and that's something you've come to terms with?
Yeah. I mean, that's why I told you. Like my philosophy is can't be good without bad. That's why like there's some things about me that are just not very good, and I know that. But it's because they're there that I feel the need to compensate in other ways, right? And balance out that bad with good.
Cool.
I think there are some people in this world that are genuinely just fucking good people and like just genuinely have the like
Yeah.
just I don't know
Yes.
how they fucking do it, to be honest with you, but there are some people on this planet that are just genuine, like just almost pure good, and those people are insane, like in a great way, you know what I mean? Like holy fuck, like I can't imagine your like how to be that kind of person, and I think
Yes. I'm very
very
very much
likely
envy it.
they must have gone through some serious struggle in order to reach that point in their lives, is what I imagine. Like I don't think anyone is born that way. Um but again, I could be wrong. It's purely anecdotally, but you know, shout out to those people. I've met a few of them in my life where I'm just like, wow, this person is just genuinely just good.
Interesting. I agree with you completely. It's very rare to meet those people that are just genuinely quite good. I remember this one
Hey,
time. Just to
I'll,
give
I'll name one. I'll name one just because
sure,
I want to.
why
You know,
not?
shout out to him. I think Mr. Demonte is one of those people.
He seems very nice. I've only met him once and DM'd him
Genuinely.
once or twice, but he seems very very nice. I remember that to give you an anecdote. Shout out to this girl I went to school with. I don't know why I'm saying her name specifically because there's no way she'll watch this. This girl I went to school called Lina, and I
Okay.
remember like I was in the hospital. I broke my elbow, so you can see like which elbow is it? I forget. This one here, you won't be able to see, but the chat can. I have a
Hmm.
scar going up here, which is I have like three like metal plates that fused my elbow together because I shattered it in three places in a judo competition. And I broke my elbow, and I went to the hospital, and just by complete coincidence, this girl that I went to school with, she's in like my form class, so like we had like morning classes together every day for like a few years,
Yeah, makes
and
sense.
like she saw me and we were in the hospital at the same time. I don't know what she was there for, like some sort of routine checkup or something. And she saw that I'd broken my arm, and like she like started crying, like she was like weeping, and she was like, "Oh my god, I hope you like get better soon." And like that's so bad. Like I feel like so bad for you. And I was just like, wow, this is like such a unhuman level of empathy to show for someone. Like
Hmm.
I wouldn't be able to react to someone like this. Like
Yeah, makes
it
sense.
was so like pure. Like I don't know, it was just so like, and it wasn't like they were being like performative. It was just nice. I don't know. And from then
Yeah,
on,
mate.
I don't know. It's so rare to encounter people like that.
I
'Cause
agree.
I wanted to ask you in that case if you're comfortable speaking about it. You're someone that is you talk about light and darkness and whatever. To what extent are you comfortable talking about your darkness? Because it's something that has clouded some of your campaigns. I mean, it's something that you've publicly spoken about, experiencing some issues in 2024 Worlds. I don't think 2025 Worlds was quite as pronounced, but for me, I mean, I'll guide it where potentially I want to talk about, and you can, you know, put up walls and barriers wherever you might not feel comfortable talking about it. But it
Sure.
feels like to me that you sort of suffer from a seasonal repeat of certain behaviors manifesting in your life due to potentially some drawbacks mentally that you might suffer from. Would that be fair to say?
Believe that's what a mental health specialist would lead you to believe. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I suppose part of me wanting to talk to you about this is because I think I personally suffer from some similar things, so I've always related to it. And I'm always of the opinion that I think this industry really does a lot of harm in regards to silencing people who potentially have issues like this and making it so that we can't ever really move forward in terms of acceptance. Because conversations like that need to have nuance, because like when you experience it, like, I mean, you can like correct me if I'm putting words in your mouth, but like I personally have experienced like a lot of mania before, and it's a weird instance in which like you're obviously responsible for your actions, and I don't think anything I'm trying to say is trying to absolve personal blame, because the end of the day, I'm my own person. I got my own shit to deal with, and like whatever I do is my own responsibility. But like, it's one of those things where it's such a it's hard to explain if you haven't gone through it. It's completely like away from what feels like you, and when you come out of it, you're almost left there like, wow, this is I really hate this like massive mess that I've left behind me.
Mhm.
I wondered if you could touch on that because I know for me, for example, like I dealt with like I had like a bit of an episode I remember back when I was casting way back in the day, and I actually had someone that I casted with that like I don't want to name any names, but like is like caster like, and they basically just said to me, hey, like you had this like mini breakdown, don't do that because no one's gonna hire you anymore if you do that, and it made me feel in that moment I was like maybe that's some good advice, but also like fuck you for like making me feel like I can't even like I have an issue, like like,
Mhm.
and I don't like that. Maybe it spills out sometimes, but I don't know. It felt like really. It's hard to explain. It felt like really shitty. I wondered if that's something that you've
Mhm.
experienced. Is kind of feeling like you can't ever talk about issues that you have, because
Well, hmm. Well, first things first. The first and foremost thing is has to come from a good place, and people only really accept and understand you if there is a certain amount of goodwill coming from you.
yeah,
So I've relinquished the ability to speak on it in a way of like, this is my experience, this is why it happened, etc. Because that would be absolving responsibility of what actually happened.
sure, that's very mature.
Just the way it works, right? Just the way it works. As a result, the angle is not one I can take of like, so this is what I went through. This is, this is what happens. This is how it is. This is whatever. Like, I can't take that angle. The only thing I can really do is just say, like, well, yeah, I mean, that's what a medical health professional told me. Um, the reality of the matter is that I'm still responsible for what happened, and that's the priority now. You know what I mean? It's about accepting responsibility and avoiding this kind of mess. And then when I've kind of got my shit together and I've found a way to manage that, then I can talk about it further, and then I can help other people. But the matter of fact is that no one wants to receive help or advice or anything from someone that still struggles with the same problem, right? Additionally,
I really
like
just
what
as
you just said.
I
Oh,
want to
sorry. Go ahead.
commend you. I want to commend you just briefly because that's like a very like, at least in my mind, like mature way of looking at this because like you say, I'm not there yet in regards to that journey in terms of just being able to fully remove myself from it and not absolve, but like do what you're doing to some capacity. And I think that's really quite touching to hear. So
Thank you, friend. I appreciate that.
fair play to that. Oh,
Part two
so
of the conversation
carry
is
on.
people
Sorry.
will do and will use it against you. Me opening up about my mental health issues, I 100%. I've been in negotiations where people have used this against me.
Like for
Now, it
contracts.
wasn't. It wasn't. Yes, it wasn't mania. It was depression. I was clinically diagnosed with depression in 2023,
Yeah.
and I shared this with the world because, to me, being in a privileged position that I've been in, and having the highs I've reached, and coming from 2023, like I had no intentions of stopping. Like I was diagnosed with depression, but it wasn't crippling to a point where I wanted to stop performing. I wanted to stop doing what I did. No, I mean, it was, it was a depressive episode and it was tough on me, but I was always intending to get back to the top. And sharing that then was also my way of being like, you know what, like I'm going to tell people like right now I really am struggling. It really is a tough time for me, but the people that are going to stick with me, they're going to see me come out on top of this, and we're going to be able to celebrate that all together. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's a big part of me because, like I said, like celebrating the wins is what I owe to the fans. I believe that fully. Like the reason why I pursue wins in my career is for the fans, because I want you guys back home that are watching to enjoy yourselves. I want you to be able to celebrate something. I want you to be able to be like, feel good about yourselves. It's really important to me. Always will be. It might be third on the list, like I said, but third on the list still pretty high. Not just my fans, but also the family. Everyone that supported me, my loved ones, etc. But the fans are a part of this. And they're a big deal in that. So clarifying this, I wanted to come out on top from all my struggles and share with the world, like, hey, I struggled. You can struggle too, but we're both going to make it. For the people back home that are actually going to be struggling, because a lot of the people that watch my stream, not maybe not a lot. I actually don't know how many people. I have no idea, but I know some. of you out there, perhaps even some of you listening to this interview right now, may be struggling with a depressive episode. And what I'm trying to say is, I'm just another guy. And I hope, if anything, you've seen from me in the past few years, you realize that that's exactly what I am, just another guy. If I was able to beat it, so can you. If I was able to go from a depressive episode and being jobless, and then go back to playing a World's quarterfinals, which is, pretty much somewhat peak performance in my field, so can you. I believe in you. I believe in any and all of you. And I think that's my most humanizing feature, is the fact that I don't believe that you need to be talented to achieve something. I think you need to be willing to invest the right amount, like a certain amount of time into the goal you're trying to achieve. And I believe that talent is a measurement of time it takes for you to get something. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is, you got this. I struggled. I shared my struggles because I hope that it would help people. I'd hope that it would drive people forwards, beat their struggles. Unfortunately, after it got used against me in a negotiation, not really something I want to do anymore. And then additionally, because of the recent incident and the amount of, basically the first thing I said, I fucked up, and because I fucked up, I'm not in a position where I can educate anyone on it anymore, and therefore I have to take a step back.
But you also, I would imagine, not to put words in your mouth, because I'm not trying to do a PR thing for you. I only want you to agree with me if it's truly what you believe. Surely there must be a sort of realization that topics like that just are very much out of your field and not really.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I think that some things is not your place to say. You know what I mean? Like it's just not a discussion that I'm supposed to be having. Like especially when it comes to other people's issues. Like it's the same for me. Like I'd definitely feel, uh, I'd feel very. Like, it'd be very weird if someone that doesn't experience the things that I experience is trying to tell me exactly why and what's going on there. You know what I mean? Like it makes total sense why people got upset with me. And to be honest with you, like I had it coming. I was being a piece of shit to Dhokla, for example. In general, I was quite an elitist piece of shit in general already. Like I know that about myself, always have been, and it just isn't my place to bring those things to the public table. I think that ultimately being elitist and having really strong opinions is a part of why I'm successful, because I can very accurately judge. Because the reason why I'm elitist is because I can judge
I wanted to tie
high
this.
level gameplay very
I
precisely,
wanted to tie
right?
this back to something you were talking about earlier because it's almost as if you're married to a lot of your ideals, but you also accept that they come at a great cost to you. I wonder if an instance like what occurred recently is a real catalyst of change in your life because, like you're saying, you had it coming. You were being a cunt. You were being a dick. I mean, I would say that to you openly as a friend. Um,
Yeah, I agree with you.
with stuff like that, when that happens, does that make you reconsider that perhaps some of these outspoken natures about yourself that have gotten you far are things that perhaps in healing yourself and moving forward and educating yourself, you might have to not necessarily say goodbye to, but heavily reevaluate?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, like it's not my place to bring these opinions to the table publicly. I think that having strong opinions in private and being able to evaluate what makes a great player, is why I've been on teams with generally great performance. Right, like that's just the reality of it. Like if there's a player that I don't think is very good, I'm very honest about that in the scouting process, and I explain why that is, and I have the time and space to do that with people that are, trying to build a winning team, basically, right?
Hmm.
But to say that, like, oh, I don't think this player is particularly good in a public space is only damaging that guy's brand. Like, it's not doing anything for me. It's not like I'm on a team with him. If anything, like, if he's going to be on a different team, then fucking great. I should be happy about it. You know what I mean? Like, by that logic. So
And
what I'm
then,
trying to say is, I've learned my lesson, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that being elitist is a negative. It's just about
but it's contextual, right?
being real. It's about being real when and where you say it. Yeah, exactly.
But obviously, just to clarify, because I feel like there's a degree of ambiguity in what you're saying there. Because I
All
feel
right.
like you're tying your league stuff to the more personal and social opinions. Those are completely different.
What do you mean?
In regards to like when you're saying I understand why you're sticking to the idea of
In a professional sense,
yeah, of course, yeah,
in a
exactly.
professional sense, my opinions that I'm professionally able to speak on, and
Yeah.
like I understand the context of
You
what's
did
going on,
exactly.
and I'm very
You did exactly what I needed to do there. I was making sure that
exactly. Yeah,
you
yeah,
red
yeah.
taped
I mean,
yourself.
sorry, I thought
No worries.
from the
No worries.
context
No
that was
worries.
clear, but yes, in a professional sense.
Listen, context matters. I'm just making sure that you
No,
red
I
taped yourself.
appreciate that. I think that's I appreciate that. No, in a professional sense,
Yeah.
I'm very much within my right to, in private, discuss things as I see fit. Not everything has to be public.
Hmm.
When it comes to the conversation I had about women, I was out of my depth. It was a conversation that was not my place to have. Plus, I have no
Absolutely.
fucking idea really what what goes on. I've tried my best to educate myself on it, but the reality of the matter is that the issue is so large that I don't like it. It's really hard to understand exactly. Like it's because that's the thing. What I've learned at least is that it's not just one thing, and I think dumbing it down to one thing is ultimately what frustrated so many people
I think that's probably. I think that's fair.
because it just isn't.
I wanted to ask you about in regards to Dhokla because you talked about it there. You'd be being a dickhead to him.
Yeah,
In regards to that, do you understand? I think because it was interesting for me to hear him out. When he was talking about what upset him so much was the fact that he kind of looked up to you, and he not maybe look up to you is a strong word, but like he was watching your stream quite actively, and he considered himself to be an example of something that you preached, someone that showed resilience and whatnot. Is that something that you
sure,
come away from that instance and understood that you perhaps kind of
definitely,
hurt someone that was a kind of a message? You kind of
definitely,
went away from the practice that you preached, right?
definitely. I mean, the thing is that to be able to understand why, like I said such a thing, and why my perspective is so harsh on him and in general on other people, is the reality of the matter is that my career, my worst placement I've ever placed is fifth place.
Hmm.
People talk about me like I'm a bad player, and people on the internet, and this is the thing about the internet, right? Is it's a lot of people, and there's a lot of opinions, and when you focus on one opinion or on one, like group of people that have a certain opinion of you, it's very easy to get bitter, and that made me really bitter because I was clearly a better performer than a lot of professional players, Mr. Dokla included, and yet people celebrated him and in the same breath put me down, even though I put in a substantial amount of effort to make sure that I had better performances than pretty much every Western top laner to breathe on this planet. It's not about him, it's about how that made me feel. And I took that out on him because, you're streaming, people ask you about certain player, like people celebrate this player in my chat and stuff. And I think that's a great thing, to be honest with you. It's just when you contrast that to getting hated on yourself, it's very hard as a competitor not to compare. And it's in that comparison where I was like, wow, like even though I have better results, people celebrate him and they shit on me. It's something I ended up tunnel visioning on because I was consuming content that was, quite frankly, just focused on that, on shitting on me. And I think that I became very bitter because of that, because I was engaging too much with negative criticism rather than constructive criticism and people that do want to celebrate me.
And what's that wake up call?
And
What's that wake up call like when you kind of wake up and you realize that, oh damn, like this is so silly of me to be so tunnel visioned on personal criticism when I'm kind of shitting on a guy who I made like I'm like trying to cast the dream that he's trying to live in, or like be the example that he
yeah,
aspires to.
well,
Like,
like I said, I mean, the wake up call for me is just like you can get celebrated in many different places in your life, and you need to go to those places to draw goodwill and you need to draw passion and happiness and joy from that, and you have to avoid putting yourself down. And if you do get put down, you have to go and recharge your batteries. And I think that being in LA and the fact that I had a really hard time in 2020, 2022, and 2023 because these 2 years were really rough on me. Like there was still like those downs bled into the years of 2024 and 2025 no matter how much I don't want them to. You know what I mean? Like those struggles were real. um, I don't want to get into it too much, but a long-term relationship I was in, didn't go my way, didn't go our way, if you will.
Hmm.
I invested a lot into that relationship, and it didn't end up working out
Yeah.
through no fault but my own. Because again, after reflection, I've come to realize that a lot of the practices that I went through in that relationship were quite toxic without me even realizing it. Additionally, obviously, I didn't get to play in 2023, and I think that like when I finally got the opportunity, and I got to go back and play again, like I almost took it for granted. I was like, oh well, I'm back, and in my first split, I'm already getting first team All Pro. I'm owning and whatever, like whatever, right? And then it's like it was like I was just very resentful that no one gave me that chance in 2023, and then obviously it was easy to take it out on someone that I saw as directly someone that shouldn't have gotten a job in 2023 over me, even though he actually made the most out of it in 2023, ironically. You know what I mean? I also think that actually, like all things said and done, I just want to give him a shout out here. To me, it's like actually shocking that he didn't get a job, because I think when it comes to personal branding and everything, he's made more efforts than I think almost every single North American player combined over the last half a decade, basically, in terms of personal branding and like doing his best to put himself out there, as well as playing well individually. So you know props to him, honestly. Like he made the most out of it, and I really do hope things work out for the better for him in the long term. And I just want to take the opportunity to apologize again, because I definitely was in the wrong. Because like I said, these are all excuses at the end of the day. It's just me being a little bitch about the fact that my life had some struggles, and I took it out on someone that was undoubtedly having his own struggles. And yeah, like I said, that conversation that I had on my stream is a conversation that I would have in private. And unfortunately, the reality of the matter is that for me, the people I play with and the people that I want to work with, I set an extremely high standard for, because that's the standard I meet. But it's not my place to talk about those things in public.
I think it's nice for me at least to hear you kind of talk about how, well, just plainly, I don't feel like you're like mincing any words. You're just talking about like you were a dickhead, and you've had a lot of misplaced anger, and
Definitely,
you took it out on other people in like a very immature way.
I agree with you. I
Yeah,
just also want to clarify, like, I don't want to sit here and pretend like, oh, I'm never going to do that again, like whatever. I'm never going to do that again publicly, no doubt about it. But the reality of the matter is that like you have to be extremely harsh about um, what you expect from a player and what you can get from them. And the thing is, and the reason why I can work with almost anyone in the world is because I will just straight up have that conversation with him. Should an opportunity come where like I'm going to jungle and he's my top laner, like I'm going to sit him down and talk him about what I think about him and what I want to do about it. And if we can meet halfway and see if we can make a project work together. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to omit flaws in players, just like I don't omit my flaws either. Because the reality of the matter is that if anyone would sit me down and tell me like, hey Bwip, you having this problem about like tilting and like not being able to focus on the game, this is a big problem for our project and we can't do shit with that. And then I'd be like, all right, let's talk about how I can find a solution then.
could you see yourself in the future doing a project with Dhokla, you the jungler and the top laner?
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Yeah, I can. Like I said, I actually think that this split he played exceptionally well. Statistically backed up as well. I think he had a great split. And in general, if he's able to maintain that, then I think he's comfortably within top three of the league that he's in. And I think that if you're not happy with playing with the top three player in the league, then to be honest, then you're a bit delusional in it.
What's next for you? Because I think there's a lot of ambiguity for you right now.
um,
Seemingly no LCS offers, no LEC offers. You were linked with the trade and streamer team as well, but you've had to pull out of that because of some veteran rules and stuff like that. What's on the
yeah.
cards for you?
I'd say the number one thing is definitely, you know, it's definitely recharging a bit. Like if I can, obviously, if I get a good offer on the table because of circumstances, then I will most definitely. At the end of the day, we all make ends meet. We all want to make money. That's just the way it is. If there's a good, lucrative offer on the table, then I'll obviously keep pushing myself forward to make that happen. But I think the number one thing for me is actually to accept simply that I don't have enough reserves in the tank to be a culture driver right now. I think that my time period in FlyQuest, I was really trying to drive a culture that I believed in, and that directly contrasted with the culture that um, Inspired was trying to set. Again, that is a professional thing, and there's professional issues there, but it did burn me because I tried very hard to fight it,
Hmm.
and as a result, I used up a lot of reserves and energy that I need to recharge now.
That's fair.
And that means that for me, in an ideal world, I get to relax for winter. Turn on my stream a little bit. Climb up to the whatever rank it is in EU, and
Would your
basically
preference be
recharge
to
a bit back
play in
home.
EU from now?
I think so. I think if I had a choice, I'd play on an LEC team. But at the same time, for me, what really matters is that I'm on a project that I'm either a culture fit for, or I can just be kind of a mercenary, where it's like you hire me to show up and play my best game because I can do that, no doubt. Like you know what I mean? Like if I'm not emotionally investing myself in the success of the players on my team or the success of the organization, and the only thing you expect me to do is play well, I think that's very very easy to do. For me, I think I've been a valuable asset to the organizations I've been on because I've personally invested everything for the success of the team and the organization. But I realize that that is not something I can do currently because, as much as it was my own fault, the events of the last few months have taken their toll on me, and it really sucks. Like at the end of the day, like I know it was my own fault, but man, like I've been wanting to be in a world's music video for as long as there was one. Like fucking sucks to not be in it. Not saying it wasn't my fault, but that plus the amount of people that straight up were hating on me, for being stupid and ignorant. Again, very fair. Still, did suck. Am I gonna stop? No. I will continue. I mean, okay, let me clarify here. Am I gonna stop playing? No. Am I gonna stop being an ignorant piece of shit? Yes. But I need to recharge to make sure that my endeavor in trying to come back to League of Legends isn't going to be clouded by my personal feelings towards the struggles in my life. And I think if you're in a privileged position to be one of the people that gets to play this game for a living, it's really important that you uh, display that in your behavior as well. And I think that I wasn't behaving as someone that was privileged. I was behaving as someone that was angry and upset. That's what I think.
It's good that you're taking that onus. I wondered if there were any players in Europe of the newer generation that you would recognize skill in and potentially want to play with in the future if it was possible. I know Vladdy, for example, is someone that you took a little bit of a mentorship role last year, and he's kind of blossomed into being a player that won LEC. Not to say that you had much to do with.
Well, I
No,
had
you
nothing to
know,
do with that. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I didn't have anything to do with that. Can't take credit. I mean, I would have loved to play on. I would have loved to play with Kalist, obviously. I would love to play with Vladdy. Would love to play with. I mean, these are the two names that did come out for me like immediately. Like
Hmm.
when I came back, it's like I would have loved to work with those two players immediately. But I mean, to be honest with you, like for me, it's a very simple perspective because I think I'm a little bit unique in the sense that I'm willing to play jungle, and I'm not just willing to play jungle. I'm very good at it. I'm also very good at top laning, and as a result, I'm willing to play both roles. And for me, the perspective I have is really simple. Like I can help your team play better when I play jungle. Because, like I said earlier in the stream, like if you play jungle, you're fighting jungle mobs for half of your game. It's very easy to look at what your teammates are doing and kind of help them be more accurate in their decision making. Address like, oh, here your mechanics weren't sufficient. Your decision making was good, but the mechanics were lacking. Like having these kind of discussions is very easy to do from jungle because you're in an environment where most of your game it's quite easy to clear your forest. No mechanically intensive decisions there, and you can prepare yourself for a decision you're gonna make because you have that. Every camp you take is 15 seconds of downtime basically as an average, right? As a result, and the point I'm trying to make is, I believe one of my biggest strengths as a jungler is that I can help almost anyone level up their game quite tremendously.
Do you prefer
And
jungle or top? If you're being honest.
well, I think as a top laner I can make a good team great, and I think as a jungler I can make a mid-lane team good. So
It's a good
that's
answer.
how I see it.
Good
That's
answer.
how I see it. That's how I negotiate it with anyone I talk to because I know what it takes as a laner. I have great I think I'm a very good laner, all things considered. Am I of the level of Zeus and Keen? No. And the fact that people will put me in the same conversation as them and say that I'm not as good as them is already proof that I can be in that conversation.
I
So I take
respect
that
I
as an
respect
absolute
I
win.
respect the element of delusion in that. I think anyone who aspires for greatness has to view the world in that sort.
Absolutely, absolutely. But that's what I'm trying to say. Is you got to have some of that. Definitely important. And that's why, like, for me, it's about the project. It's about the people that I work with. And what's most important for me is, like I said, that I distinguish, like, hey, this is a team where I can actively make a difference for the culture, and I can actively participate in this, and I can help your organization push itself forward beyond performance in winning games. Or this is a team where, well, quite simply, I'm not really a culture fit, but I am a talented enough individual and I am a professional, so I can come in here and make a real difference and help you put wins on the table and win championships. Just not my way. And I think that that's why in 2022, that's the lesson I learned from 2022 TL, actually, to make it full circle and talk almost about every single year I've played professionally, is I was not a culture fit. I had a different way of viewing the game, and I was unable to set that aside. I felt like I needed to express myself in the way that I wanted to play the game, and as a result, I think it very much negatively affected the team. And I take responsibility for that. I do believe that if I was, you know, more of a professional and more sound of mind, more like precise with my, how do I say this, problem solving, I could have identified this and I could have played the same style everyone else did, and that would have been good enough. I think we would have been able to make worlds, and history would have definitely been different. But unfortunately, I was unable to do that, and took a big fat L there. Because of
Hmm.
that, I did suffer. Like losing there, like
I wanted
I
to
did get this. I did get to suffer a bit.
I wanted to ask you something that kind of just to reverse engineer, and I think there's a question will be asked of you, and I thought we may as well ask it in the interview. You talked about Wunder. You didn't really flame him. You semi-flamed Wunder a little bit for being with caps, being without caps, or you've alluded to that being the case for some players. You you obviously didn't achieve. You haven't achieved the best results in your career if it wasn't with Inspired or caps, for example. What would you say to claims such as those? To play devil's advocate, are you equally as reliant as perhaps a Wunder on a Starman?
I think I debunked those things when I kicked G2 out of 2021 2021 Worlds by winning with Fnatic in a best of five against them.
Fair
Maybe as a top
enough.
laner I am, but I think that as a top laner, all top laners are relying on their team. I think every single solo queue top laner can relate to that, and I don't think it's different for professional play. But fortunately for me, I have that as proof that as a player, I'm not reliant on anyone to perform, and I'm not reliant on anyone to make a deep run, because I think I was a very large part of that team making a finals in 2021 summer.
Sure. Bwipo, is there any possibility, just as we round out for the end of the interview, any possibility we might see you as a coach if, Lord forbid, you don't manage to find a playing opportunity in the near future? What is the chance of you becoming a coach in the future?
I'm super passionate about the game, and I love helping people. So to be honest with you, just gonna go ahead and use this opportunity to say, like, if any players out there want to reach out to me, if you are actively playing on a professional team and you are in need of a session, then I have no problem. Keep in mind, I can't do everyone in every single amateur league, but especially here, especially after the comments I made and such, I want to extend that privilege of anyone that wants to work with me, especially in female leagues. I have a lot of good that I can help with in my expertise in League of Legends. So if I can help any up and coming players there that want my assistance, I'm happy to extend that to them. And then obviously in tier one, tier two, I'd be down. There's obviously a lot of different leagues, and as a result, I'd be busy doing coaching for everyone. I can't do that. I can't promise that. But
I want to
I'm very passionate about the
slightly
game.
correct you on your wording there, because you sort of said if you want to extend the privilege, which makes you come across as a bit arrogant. I think maybe you meant a slightly different word, or perhaps you do view it as the privilege of working with you.
Unfortunately, I think that I'm very smart about this game, and I do think it is a bit of a
Okay,
privilege to be able to
I
work with me.
gave you a chance to step down, but the hubris prevails. Fair enough. I suppose that is the human element of you. There is an element of arrogance there.
My friend, I I sell those services. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I charge people $100 an hour. I think that's an insane amount of money to charge anyone. $100 an hour is a lot of fucking money for any service, in my opinion. You know, so if I didn't think it was a privilege, then I wouldn't be able to justify the charges I made to the people that I did charge that money for.
It's
So
very, very Ravenclaw of you, by the way. But in any
just
case,
being real with you here, it is a privilege.
and
And like I said, if
Ravenclaws,
someone can prove to me that they're in tier 1 or tier 2, I will do it for free.
Ravenclaw's
Obviously,
very
if you want to just DM me and if you want to do it at the usual rate, then I can obviously negotiate that with people as well. But the reality of the matter is that I will make a real difference for those people's careers.
yeah.
And I'm very good at what I teach. Like I think it's my biggest strength, as a matter of fact. I think it's finding solutions for people's gameplay. It is working with people individually and making them better players. I think that a lot of people think that I get carried by the best players on my team, and I definitely do. But one thing people really love to admit is the fact that I make it very easy for them to carry me because I work with them and find the best way for them to perform.
Yeah.
And I give them that. I always do.
More Team Jacob than Edward, then. Lone Wolf, more of it. Anyway,
No, I'm the opposite actually. I'm very much team. You know, I'm not really a lone wolf there. No, not really. I work with my
Team
teammates
Edward,
and I
Team
see
Edward,
them
then.
succeed. I don't know if that's what Edward represents, but sure. Like I
Well,
said, for
Edward
me,
Gaming, you obviously played against them at some point.
actually thinking, did I? Yeah, I think 2018 was the last time. No, wasn't it? I think it was. I think it actually was. Yeah, the best of 5 Worlds 2018 was the last time I played in EDG best of 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, there's no Jacob Gaming, is there? I mean, it kind of tells you what you need to know.
I mean, who would want to be named Jacob Gaming when there's a guy called Jake right here? There's an absolute nonce.
Thank you so much for the interview. Goodbye.
I appreciate you, man. Take care.